Giselle Robin, screaming, assures that she is an evil witch and he will finish her off. Hearing this, the main character did not even pay attention to his words, and she asks if he brought her poison. She says that he needs it for the murder and offers to give it to her as soon as possible. The girl snatches a bottle with an unknown liquid from his hands and says that she's had enough of this chatter. The main character drinks poison before the eyes of an unknown person and thereby removes her thirst. At this time, he looked at her and said that he had heard that she was crazy, but did not believe it. And just now, I'm convinced of this. The lady drank the poison and says it tastes like strawberry milk. Seeing this, the man does not understand how she remained unharmed after that, because he was told to drop this poison enough to end up in the underworld. And at this time, he snatches the rest of the poison from her hands. The guy takes a few drops and pours it into his mouth, and at the same time says that he probably brought something wrong with him. But now he will be convinced of this. Suddenly, he felt something squeezing his throat and he was coughing up blood. An unfamiliar man felt a loss of strength and asked the lady what kind of tricks these were. And after that, he goes into eternal sleep. The girl with long blonde hair and blue eyes is Giselle Robin. And that was the name of the villain of the novel, The Poisoned Apple. The main character understands that she herself will not take part in taking revenge for the poisonous fruit. However, she thinks that she will have fun reading about it. The girl is looking for the name of this novel on her phone, and after reading it, she understands that it is a dark and complicated novel, where in the end, the protagonist, antagonist, and generally all the characters die. In this novel, the secondary female character, the villain, is the first to die among all the antagonists, because at the very beginning of the novel, she lost to the main characters, and was forever silenced by sending a killer while she waited for the day of execution. On the way home from work, the main character had an accident, and when she woke up, she discovered that she was in the body of Giselle Robin from this novel. When the lady saw what happened, she was very angrily surprised because she couldn't even imagine it. The girl doesn't understand what she has to do with this because she was already in prison, and the killer tried to poison her again. At this time, she screams that enough is enough. However, the guy does not listen to her and orders her to open her mouth because he needs to finish her off. When the lady drank almost everything from the bottle, there were a few drops left, and she asked if it was strawberry syrup for children. However, the killer does not understand what she is talking about because he was assured that there was a deadly poison there. He thought that this bottle had been replaced. Otherwise, it would have died. The guy drinks the rest of the bottle, and after a few minutes goes into eternal sleep. After this, several more killers came to the dungeon, but for a strange reason, the poison did not have an effect on the main character, and after that, no one came out of there alive. The main character does not understand why they're all starting to test the poison, and she reflects on the fact that the killers in this world lack brains. The girl recalls that at first she doubted whether she should drink poison out of fear, but when I got used to it, I preferred to drink it right away so that they wouldn't make a lot of noise. The lady tried several poisons and noticed their different tastes. Because each one was always different, one was sweet, like apple yogurt, a different, not purely fruity taste, not real and cloying. The girl thought that it was poison after all, but usually the soldiers were angry with the main character because they thought that she had killed the mercenaries and called her an evil witch. But once they saw that the killers themselves drank poison, they lost interest in her. Devushka screaming indicates that she is a decent citizen, and at this time, the soldier thought that the witch and the murderer might have gone crazy. The main character reflects that, judging by how many mercenaries come to her, the guards here are working carelessly. That is why they did not pay attention to them, thinking that they were ordinary servants who were ordered to bring her water. The lady, sitting in prison, thought that this world was rotten, and even though she is a villain, she still wants to live. The main character reflects on the fact that she must await execution, filling her stomach with poison in this filthy prison, where it smells of stench and dampness. She hopes that the next killer will bring an unusual and tasty poison, and this will at least cheer her up a little. Suddenly, the girl heard someone laughing and saying that there was no one here. Giselle thought that this might be an effect after absorbing too many poisons, and she understands that substance abuse will not lead to good things. The main character looked around, but did not see anyone, and she was even afraid of where this sound came from, and maybe it was a ghost. Suddenly, the lady heard a voice saying that he was not a ghost. Giselle does not understand what is happening and where this voice comes from. She looked around and didn't understand why he was laughing. The girl says that she does not see him, but nevertheless thinks that he is a killer. She claims that she was recently given the poison, and it has not yet been digested, and asks if he can wait. The lady hears laughter, and a voice says that the poison will work because she needs to drink a couple of drops, and he suggests doing it quickly. At this time, the main character thought that the bubble appeared out of nowhere, and she did not understand what was happening. Suddenly, Giselle cries out that she asks to wait. However, the girl says that it's enough to feed her with poisons like food for an animal. And at that time, she thought that the killer behaved differently and was not like the previous ones. Holding a bottle of poison in her hand, the main character thought that it stank of sour meat, and she asked if it was spoiled. And she wondered if it was possible to die from expired poison. The main character thought that she still had not died yet, and this did not guarantee that it would be so this time. The girl thought that this was not important to her, and if the poison did not work, she would be executed. Because you are prisoners, there is only one way out, and they are all waiting for their end. She thought about how she didn't want to die so quickly, and besides, this killer seemed incredibly capable. Giselle asks for forgiveness from the murderer, and says that since she has to drink it, let him allow her to ask for a favor. This question interests the man, and he asks which one. The girl says that if she doesn't die, can he save her? Hearing this, the guy was surprised, and asked if she was asking him to help him escape from here. The girl replies that he says everything correctly, and explains that she would not like to continue waiting for the day of execution and lazily sipping poisons. At this time, she thought that the reason why she was here would be revealed later. After all, now she needs to figure out how to get out of this place. A voice asks her if she is confident that she will be able to survive once she is free. The man says that throughout the empire, he knows her as an evil witch, and if she escapes, a wanted notice will be posted everywhere. He says that she has no family, and it's unlikely that anyone else will agree to help her. An unknown man asks what the difference is between a miserable death on the street and here. However, the girl responded by claiming that he is a big pessimist, and she sees the situation from a favorable side. When he heard this, because he didn't understand what she meant. The lady explains that she has a lot of enemies, but in the whole world she cannot find shelter for herself and asks about it. Giselle says that since good people shun her, she will make a simple choice and go to work for the villains. Hearing this, the guy thought about it and asked if she had someone in mind. Grandfather replies that there is, and he is incredibly cool. An unfamiliar guy offers to tell her, and if he likes her idea, he can help her. Suddenly, the main character thought that she couldn't remember the name of the dark-haired villain from the poisoned apple. And when she remembered, she said the name Wayne Eyre. However, the guy corrects her and asks if Wayne can Iori. Hearing this name, the lady screams, which is exactly what he says, and she asks if she knows him. The guy replies that he knows him in a sense, but by coincidence. A stranger calls her name and claims that he will not allow a witch like her to die such an easy death. Hearing this voice, the main character thought that it was different. She looked at him opening her door and wondered where he could have the keys. And she doesn't understand whether the guards may have given them to the killer, and she thought that they were stupid. A man with a knife, screaming, says that his bride's enemy will suffer and die in agony. At this time, the main one, screaming, says that either he cries or kills. The girl drinks liquid from the bottle and thinks that she doesn't want to be cut because it hurts. And since she will take poison, she can die faster and her death will be easy. The lady turns to a stranger and says that she drank poison and offers to help her, because he promised her that if she could survive after this. Having heard this, the man claims that he said what he would think and reminds that they did not enter into an agreement. However, he admits that she is interested in him. The girl looked at the guy and thought that he was a magician because he appeared in front of her right out of the shadows. Seeing the guy, Giselle asks if he is the killer, and the guy agrees with her and says that she said everything correctly. The main character looked at the guy and thought that since when were killers so beautiful? Coming closer to her, the lady was able to see the guy's face. However, he turned out to be so beautiful that she could not take her eyes off him. He saw a bottle of poison and said that he found it, and the main character thought that he also wanted to test the poison. Giselle, looking at the guy, thought that he was handsome, but no different from the others. She says if he gives it to her, he will tell if it was the right poison. The black-haired guy looks at the bottle and says that he is sure that he was not mistaken. The girl thought that finally there was a killer who was not trying to poison himself, and this moment seemed touching to her. The handsome guy says that something else is important now because they need to leave. and he, with the help of his index finger, shows the girl to go to him. At this time, the lady saw a magic circle, and she became convinced that he was a magician. The guy tells the girl that they are somewhat similar. At this time, she thought that if he knew Wayne Ayori is the head of the sorcerers, then maybe he himself is one. Suddenly, finding herself in an unfamiliar place, the main character asks the guy where they are now. He replies that he is in an alley and asks if the noble lady is disappointed. Giselle assures that this is not the case and explains that she has a hard time believing that it is possible to simply disappear thanks to a spell. She says that the guards didn't do their job well, but she still doesn't understand how she can avoid being disappointed. A handsome guy talks about how he can get her back. However, the girl objects to him and says that she will do without it. The black-haired guy invites the girl not to be sad, because they will understand that she disappeared with the help of dark magic due to her one capture and set a rather large reward. And then she will be sentenced to death. Having heard this, the main character does not understand how one can say such a thing while smiling captivatingly. Giselle thought that everything was correct, since he used dark magic and the villains possessed it in the poisoned apple. And even the girl in the body she is in now received help from them. To increase the power of sorcerers, the last wielder of dark magic, Wayne Ayori, organized a group of his brothers to confront the protagonist. The main character looks at the guy and asks if he is by chance a sorcerer connected with the Cloud. The Cloud is the name of the organization of sorcerers founded by Wine. Life. At the beginning of the novel, there was only a small passage that mentioned her creation, but later more information was revealed about her. The main character asks the guy if he is one of Wayne's men. However, he looked at the girl and did not answer. At this time, the main character thought that she had shouted at a member of the Cloudivi Pridachu Raskazala, Chto kochet rabotat na ego glavu. Odnako, osoznav eto, ona ne ponimaet, kak a bit. Giselle asks the guy if he can tell him his name. I podumala owe that since she learns his name, she will not guess anything. The black-haired handsome guy calls his name Ranel. When the main character heard this, she thought that she did not remember this name in the novel. The girl looks at the guy and wants to remember if there was a character with dark hair and scarlet eyes. However, no one in particular comes to mind because the head has blonde hair, and she can't remember anyone. The lady thought that since he was handsome, wouldn't it be strange to make him a minor character? After thinking a little, Giselle realized that she couldn't remember anyone with that name, and it is very likely that he was not particularly important. The main character understands that the organization is a cloud, unites sorcerers, but there are those who like to act independently. Giselle also worked with a sorcerer who was minding his own business, and she is sure that Ranel is the same. The main character reflects that it is even easier for her that he is not under Wayne's direct subordination. But first she needs to clarify everything before the guy reports what she told him. Giselle asks Ranel about the job she mentioned since his boss might not agree. The guy replies that he understands everything and will not speak badly about her, while the head of which she always calls. The young man asks the girl if she is going to stay here. Hearing this, she was surprised. Ranel explains that a search will soon be organized in the city where her prison is located. Hearing this, the main character was surprised because she had forgotten that she was so close. And she thought that since he used magic, he could move further away. Giselle, turning to the guy, says that she is convinced that fate brought them together and asks him if he wants to move a little further with her. And at this time, the girl thought that if she was left alone, it was only a matter of time before she was caught. And she is sure that she needs this guy. Ranel asks in surprise why he would do this. The girl smiles and says that as he knows, she has neither a house nor money, and it would be nice of him. However, the guy says that he does not see any benefit for himself. A handsome young man invites the lady to think about how she can pay him for his help. Suddenly, the lady heard a cry that they were looking for her, and the guy says they've already started. Ranel says that it would be worth holding it until a big reward is announced, and then handing it over. Hearing this, the main character felt anxious and said, crying out that she could share valuable information with him. The girl claims that with her help, he will achieve a promotion in no time. Hearing these words, the guy became interested, and she asks if he is not from the clouds. After all, she knows the future that awaits some important members of the association. The main character thought that since she had read the novel, she knew all the key points. The lady claims that she knows the future of the head. Ranel asks the girl if she thinks her words are unfounded. She explains that she gained a secret ability when she drank a lot of poisons. Hearing this, the guy says that he didn't know this was possible, However, the girl says that she was a little mistaken because she did not gain a secret ability, but rather the gift of foresight. Hearing this, the guy was surprised because he didn't understand what she was talking about. Giselle explains that after drinking a couple of poisons, she gained the power with which she can find out what will happen to whom. At this time, guards run near them and, screaming, tell them to look in the other direction. Seeing them, the main character hid behind the guy's broad shoulders with the hope that they wouldn't notice her. She asks the guy if he will leave her here. The young master says that Giselle Roisman tried to use forbidden magic before she was arrested. The girl was surprised when she heard this and asks what he wants to say. The guy explains that she intended to gain more power by sacrificing the sorcerer she worked with. Hearing this, the main character thought that at that time he was not the only assistant she had left, and she doesn't understand why she tried to sacrifice him and thought that she was crazy. The chief magician reports that there are several rules regarding the use of dark magic, and they also apply to all sorcerers. Renel says that he is here to settle the trouble caused by his stupid friend who died because of Giselle's deception. The guy explains that he needs to check if the spell was successfully used, and if so, study its effect. A handsome young man approaching the girl asks if she is curious about what spell he is talking about. The main character looked at the guy and thought that everything was somehow strange. Suddenly, the guy takes her hand and says that this is a stellar transplant. Hearing these words, the lady was surprised. She didn't understand what it was about. Renel explains, holding the lady's hands, that with her help, you can summon a creature not from their world. The guy says that since the research has not been completed and the spell is unfinished, there is a high risk of being absorbed by the summoned creature. Renel looks at the girl and asks who she is. The main character thought about what happens if we reformulate the words of Renel, then she is here because Giselle's spell called her. The girl thought that she should have chosen her target carefully. She doesn't understand why she is an old, weak, ordinary, and chaste girl who never wanted anything like this. And he asks me to take the life of this poor thing. The young guy asks who she is. After all, he says that he knows valuable information about what awaits some important people. Hearing this, the lady, screaming, asks what kind of question he is asking her and claims that she is Giselle. And at this time, the girl thought that for now she would pretend. Renel wonders if she is offering him information in exchange for his help. The guy says that the fact is that she doesn't have to say it herself. The young man wonders that according to her, he has no other way to hear what he wants. He asks if she's curious about what it's like to be in a prison made by sorcerers. The main character looked at the guy and thought that he had told her that he would take her for further research if the spell worked. And this time, she wondered if he could dissect alive, and as far as she knows, this was not mentioned. The girl thought that she did not like pain. She smiled and said that she really cares about her body, and therefore, he will happily agree to cooperate even without threats, because they can discuss everything peacefully and asks about it. Hearing this, Renel thought it was interesting and said that now he is sure that she is not Giselle, since she would not have reacted so pitifully. At this time, the main character thought about whether it was normal to throw facts at people like that. After all, she too could be a little submissive, but she was actually in danger of ending up in the laboratory. The guy invites the girl to talk about how useful she is. He says he wants to hear something more convincing than a big reward on her head or information about her. At this time, the main character is lost in thought, because she does not know what use she can do and does not know what she should answer. The girl says that she may be a poison seeker. Renel heard this and was disappointed, and he asks what good it will do. The lady explains that who knows and says that suddenly they are going to poison his head, and she can help prevent this. The main character suggests getting straight to the point, since Ranel didn't lock her up, didn't dissect her, and didn't hand her over to the guards. Thinking about it, you can assume that it would be terrible otherwise. Giselle found herself in a very strange and suspicious store, to which Renel led her. Let's look at the doll. The lady thought that she didn't even know that a doll could be so creepy, and she thought that this toy was cursed. The lady, being among the strange things, thought that this was a store that sold cursed objects. The main character asks the guy why he brought her here. Giselle wonders if he plans to kill her with a curse since the poison did not work on her. However, the guy assures her of this because he said that this is a store where they sell cursed items and not a cursed place. Renel claims that she herself understands that her words are hard to believe, and he says she should demonstrate her abilities by working here. The handsome young man explains that she will identify and sort poisons for sale and communicate with buyers. Hearing this, the lady asks if she should sort because the gentleman wants her to stick the name or something. However, The guy reminds her that she herself said that she would help him with the definition. Renel looks at the girl and claims that no one pulled her tongue. The main character thought that he was a heartless guy who wanted her to start from the very bottom because she could not immediately get her the position of secretary to the head. 10 days have passed since the main character temporarily began working in the store. Renel watched her for the first 3 days, but after them, his spirit also became cold. The girl looked at the doll and said it was boring. She called her Isabel and says that it seems that it's just the two of them left here. Suddenly, the main character heard someone call her name and asked if she had given a name to the cursed doll. A guy with blonde hair claims that crazy Miss Giselle is not right in the head. Seeing the guy, the girl was surprised because she recognized him, and his name is Ten. A guy with blonde hair works as a porter, and as far as the lady knew and heard, he is now undergoing training to become a full-fledged sorcerer. However, the main character is thinking because she was unable to understand how this relates to his current job. Giselle tells the guy that she's not crazy. However, Ten replies that madmen deny their madness. Hearing this, the main character, screaming, says that she is definitely not crazy. Seeing her angry, the guy says that everything is fine because she is very attractive for a crazy woman. Ten claims that the girl must be quite cruel since she got a job here. Hearing this, the lady thought, because she doesn't understand why he admires him, and it seems to her that the store owner Renel has a good reputation. The lady, turning to the guy, asks if he knows that goods are delivered to the store more often than they are bought. The lady says that a couple of people came to see her, but they never bought anything, and she thought that she shouldn't just stand here and then leave. The guy says that he sometimes buys, and says that he has today's poison with him. I saw a bottle of liquid. The main character thought that he stinks. The lady asks the guy if he knows what durian is. However, the guy has no idea about this, and the lady explains that it is a fruit that smells exactly the same. Ten asks what she's talking about since he doesn't smell anything. Hearing this, the main character thought that it seemed like she was the only one who could smell and detect the poison. And the girl remembers that Renel also talked about this. After all, he said that no one felt the taste of the poison that she drank. Ten looked at the planned girl and said that she was crazy. Hearing this, the main character thought that she did not have the strength to argue with him. The main character, sitting at work, thought that she planned to stay in the store and not bother Renel. However, there has been no news from him for 3 days now. Stopping her thoughts for a moment, the lady thought that this might be the perfect moment to escape. The girl muses that he hasn't done anything so far, but she suggests that he might one day dissect her alive. The main character understands that, unlike what happened in the original story, she was able to survive, and therefore, if she does not quickly escape, she risks colliding with the main characters. He took 1 bottle of poison, and the girl smiled and thought that she would take it as payment for 10 days of work. Having hidden the bottle of poison, Giselle opens the door and thinks that it's time to run away. As she went outside, she thought that there seemed to be no spell that would prevent her from escaping. However, the girl understands that maybe Renel simply left everything as it is, fearing that he would be exposed if they used dark magic. Giselle thought that in any case, her escape was a success. Running down the street, the girl remembers that the customer said that for money, you can secretly use the carriage, and therefore, first of all, you need to find it. Suddenly, the girl saw the guards, and she does not understand why they are prowling near the store for villains. The main character saw that the knights were sticking her photograph everywhere, and she thought that he had gone crazy. The girl doesn't understand how you can open a store for villains next to the security post, and she wonders what the point is. Suddenly, Giselle heard a familiar voice asking her why she didn't continue walking and find out for herself. Giselle turns around and sees Renel. The guy says that a couple more steps and the guards would have seen her. The girl is a little worried, but does not show it, and she smiles and claims that she has not seen her boss for a long time. And at that time, I thought it was a curse, because she was caught. And she doesn't understand what to do, because everything was going too smoothly. Renel claims that a day or 2 has passed, but at most 3 since they saw each other. Hearing this, the lady thought that he looked fierce, and she did not understand why he should not soften his tone. Giselle offers to clarify everything so that there is no misunderstanding between them. She explains that she wasn't trying to escape. Hearing this, the guy wonders if she wanted to give up. And is she finally ready to plunge into eternal sleep? However, the girl, screaming, explains that she just went out for a walk, because she has a habit of sometimes going for a walk for the whole day. Hearing this, Renel was surprised. However, the main character claims that this is very good for health, and she recommends him to do it. The black-haired guy asks if she took the poison with her in case she gets thirsty. Hearing this, the girl was surprised because she didn't understand how he knew about it. She reflects on the fact that maybe he was following her with the help of magic. And remember his words that he said that he sees everything. The lady explains that when she goes out, she never forgets about work. However, Renelle asks about money, and he asks if she will also need them on her walk. Giselle says that after thinking a little, she realized that she never repaid him for his help. And so I decided to buy a gift on the way back. The young master looks at the girl and claims that she is so flexible when she fusses. However, the girl objects and says that this is not at all, no, because life in society is so difficult. The lady says that in her mind, she always calls him young master as a sign of respect. Hearing this, the guy claims that in prison, she called him a scoundrel. Hearing this, the girl suggests leaving the past behind. However, the young master says that it was only 10 days ago. Suddenly, the main character saw that the guards were coming towards them, and at this time, she does not understand where to hide and what to do. Giselle hides under the cloak of the young master. However, he does not understand anything and asks what is the matter. The girl explains that the soldiers are coming. She needs to hide, but she understands that this is not good. Giselle suggests to her boss that they pretend they are kissing. The lady explains that if they suddenly start running away, the guards will suspect something. She says they need to pretend to be passionate lovers to divert their attention. Renelle wonders whether the image of passionate lovers kissing in alleys is a solution to the problem. The main character claims that since he understood, he should help her. Suddenly, the lady felt a push and asks why he suddenly pushed her. The guy pressed the girl against the wall, and when the lady looked at him, she didn't understand why he had that expression on his face. The guy, as if reading her thoughts, says that they need to pretend to be in love. The main character argues that it is not the pretense itself that is important, but how to use it to avoid trouble. Suddenly, the main character thought that she had definitely met the guard's gaze. Giselle saw that the guards were looking at them, and at the same time she was very scared. And at this time, the young master invites her to turn away. Suddenly, the girl screams. You think that if he is going to press her to the truth, then let him make sure that she completely dissolves in it. She asks the guy to pretend that he is kissing her. The black-haired guy reports that the guards are already nearby. And at this time, the main character says that they just passed by. And she thought that they had definitely looked into each other's eyes. The young lady doesn't understand why she hasn't been recognized since she's a wanted criminal whose face is all over the posters. Renelle explains that the guards simply did not see them. Suddenly, the guy leaves, and Giselle asks where he is going and says that he might be captured. Having walked a few steps away, the young gentleman reports that only a wall is visible from there, and in this place, an illusion spell was used. At this time, the main character thought that in the novel, it was written that when using magic, a magic circle is formed. Moreover, dark magic leaves ominous energy. It was thanks to this that the two main characters were tracked down at Wayne's, almost defeating him or something like that. At this time, the main character thought that she had messed something up. After all, not everything was exactly like that. The girl does not understand if this is magic, and she wonders why the guards did not notice her. The young man says that this is obvious because he is stronger. Hearing this, the main character sighed with relief and asked if he could have warned in advance. The young man says that she looked a little stupid, but he thought it was cute. Giselle claims that after this, she no longer feels gratitude towards him. Hearing this, the guy agrees with her and asks if it's time for her to go back to the store. At this time, the main character thought that she had almost forgotten about this, and she realizes that she was caught trying to escape. Giselle looked at the guy, and she didn't understand what he was up to. The lady asks if he will torture her. However, the guy looked at her and says that he can if she wants. And since there is no need for this yet, he invites her to return to her workplace. The main character, turning to her boss, says that they brought a new poison today, and she, as a good and responsible employee, is obliged to check the arriving goods. Hearing this, the young man could barely contain his laughter and thought that this girl was very interesting. In the store, the girl collected her report and says that all the data on all the poisons that she tried over the past 10 days. The guy with black hair looked at the papers and thought that everything here was structured and clearly written. And Venedro Rawls would have gladly taken her into his office if he had known what she was capable of. Giselle says he might have a hard time believing it because she compared the flavors to fruit, but she says it's true. This time, the guy thought that it seemed very unlikely to him that Giselle studied alchemy in order to master administrative skills. The main character reports that the taste of apples differs depending on the amount of sugar in them, and the same with poisons. However, when I didn't hear an answer, the girl thought that he could comment somehow. At this time, the young man thought that it did not look like the girl was deliberately behaving shamelessly and talking nonsense. The guy looked at the main character and thought about it, because he was wondering who Giselle had called. He reflects on the fact that the girl is ready to run away from the slightest pain, and at this time, she is not afraid to drink poison. A young man with black hair reflects on the fact that the lady hates danger, but ended up in the body of an insane villainess, and he thought that such contradictions seemed interesting to him and made him wonder who was hiding under this shell. Suddenly, the guy asks the lady what her name is. Hearing this, the girl was surprised, and she asks what he is talking about. The young man again asks what her real name is. He says that she already knows his name, but she did not say hers. The main character claims that her name is Giselle Rosbin. The guy heard this, looked at the girl, and thought that she usually talks nonsense. However, when it comes to her personality, she suddenly becomes serious. The young master is curious because she is clearly the same Giselle with blonde hair and blue eyes, but the soul that is in this body is different, and that affects the perception of her personality. The young man reflects that the biggest contradiction is trying to make everyone believe that she is Giselle, although she doesn't try at all to be like her. The guy looked at the girl mysteriously and said that now he knows her name. Hearing this, the main character claims that she structured the data using her ability to find poisons, and she wonders if he believes in her. Renell says that he recognizes her ability, but he still has doubts about her. Giselle is interested in what he is talking about and what excitement he has. She claims that he will not find a more harmless person than her. The guy explains that this is his character because it is difficult for him to trust people, and besides, he saw how she tried to escape. And she even stole money. I heard this. The main character explains that she did not run away, but was just walking. The girl explains about the money. She is still entitled to a salary, so she took it in advance. The young man looked at the lady in surprise, and noticing this, the girl, screaming, asked if he was going to pay her. Giselle explains that she worked as hard as she could and argues that he should pay her. She says that because she drinks dangerous poisons, she also gets a bonus. Looking at the lady, the young master thought that he was having fun watching her cute, unconscious reaction, and he reflects on the fact that Giselle would not behave like that. The young master thought about what he now understood. After all, sorcerers first take chickens for experiments, and in the end, they build a chicken coop for them because they cannot kill these cute chickens. Suddenly, the girl saw magic around the master, and she became scared. She turns to the boss and says that usually there is a probationary period at the beginning of a job, and therefore she will understand if he does not pay her, and moreover, the guy feeds her. Renell says that he doesn't understand what she's talking about. The girl looked at the guy's hand and saw a beautiful butterfly fly out from there, followed by another. The main character looked at them and asked if these were real butterflies. The gentleman with black hair explains that they are his familiars, who will keep an eye on her from now on. Hearing this, the girl enthusiastically asks if they will always be together because she wonders if they can talk and if it is possible to communicate with them. Hearing this, the guy thought that it seemed that she had not heard about the surveillance of her. He tells the girl that these butterflies can only communicate with him. The lady objects and says it's not fair since she wants to try talking to them too. Looking at the butterflies, Giselle reports that they have lovely wings. Renell says that the red butterfly is poisonous, and he asks the girl to be careful. However, the main character claims that there is nothing wrong with this, since she is immune to poisons. The guy reports that blue scales can paralyze. Hearing this, the girl was surprised, because she did not know that butterflies have scales, and she says that she is interested. The young master looked at the lady and thought that she was much more interesting than these butterflies. The guy reflects on the fact that just moments ago she looked like a coward, and now he interrupts in delight, looking at the butterflies. The young master remembers that Giselle has another ability. After all, she said that she knows the future of important people, and he became interested in who these important people were and by what criteria they were ranked among them. The young master doesn't understand why Wayne is one of them. He asks the girl standing to know about Wayne Ayori, and does she want to work for him. The main character reports that she doesn't know anything specific about him and simply considers him the most powerful of the villains. The girl tells the boss that when he meets him, he should tell him that he is the strongest in the world, and she reports that she would be grateful if he offered her a job. The guy heard the girl address him, and he doesn't understand why she talks to him like that, and asks why she doesn't call him a scoundrel. But the main character invites him to forget about it. Ranel asks the girl if she really wants to work with him. The lady explains that it is better to be the tail of a dragon than the head of a snake, and asks, "Isn't it great to work in a big company?" Having heard this, the guy claims that she said that she would be a poison seeker under his leadership, and even if you list all the poisons, only she will be able to figure them out. After all, he is interested in how everyone else should behave. Giselle claims that she will try them first, since this is what tasters did in the families of rulers, and asks the guy if he knows about it. The girl looks at the guy with hope and asks him if he can arrange for her to meet him. The young master reports that he does not want to do this. Hearing this, the main character asks why she doesn't understand the reason for his refusal. The guy explains that she will have to try everything before him, which means that she will always be there. The girl objects and says that she will only do this during meals. Ranel says that at times during the day he may drink tea or snack on dessert, and sometimes he will go to an event. Hearing this, the girl agrees with him and asks what she should do. The guy with black hair says that she will have to be with her all day. However, this does not suit him. The gentleman leaves and tells the girl to stay here and look after the store, and informs her that he will pay her a salary. Hearing this, the main character became very happy because she is now a full-time worker. Suddenly, Giselle turns to the young master and invites him to wait. The guy turned around and saw the girl, and he doesn't understand why her mood suddenly changed again, and he thinks that she may be pursuing a secret goal. The gentleman with black hair thinks that the lady is pretending to be a fool and is looking for excuses and opportunities to meet with Wayne in order to ultimately finish him off. Giselle tells her boss that since ancient times, an employment contract has been concluded between the employer and the employee to prevent possible disagreements in the future. The girl offers to sign him during the probationary period and describe the salary there. And after these words, she asks the guy to wait a little while she goes to get a pen. Hearing this, the young master smiled and thought that no matter who she called, this was the best she could do. The guy thought that he needed to stop this busy girl under his supervision. The main character reflects on the fact that Ranel began to come more often after he assigned familiars to her. Thanks to this, the girl has more free time, and she can sometimes walk along the alley. Giselle thought that butterflies are observers, and they are very beautiful. Being in a room with butterflies, the main character feels calmer, and when they are together for a walk, and Ranel feels better that she will not run away. Suddenly, Ten comes out into the shops and greets the crazy Miss Giselle. The girl reports that she is no longer a temporary employee, since she was hired for a probationary period, and therefore proposes to call her an intern from now on. Hearing this, the guy says that she has become even crazier over the past days. The lady says that he can say whatever he wants, but she does not hear him because she feels happy because she signed an official contract. The girl explains that the contract specifically states the probationary period and the exact time when she will become a full-time employee. And at least you can be sure that he abandoned the idea of handing her over to the guards or making her a subject for experimentation. Giselle is confident that this contract not only provides her with employment, but also guarantees a long life. Ten says that he came to buy something and says that he needs this damn doll and points his finger at it. The girl says that she is not going to touch her and invites the guy to take her himself. Hearing this, the guy thought that if he touched her directly, the curse might work. And at that time, the main character looked at him and thought that for a novice sorcerer, Ten was quite cowardly. The girl reports that they sell cursed items and assures that the store itself is not cursed. Ten says that he understands everything and gives the girl money. After saying goodbye to the guy, the main character thought that it was a little empty here without Isabel. But when I saw the butterflies, I realized that they were with her, and that was enough for her. Giselle muses that the shadows that emanated from Ranel's fingertips were probably traces of the use of dark magic. But unlike the shadows that appeared when this killer was absorbed in prison, these are more brilliant. The lady reflects on the fact that they can shine because Ranel himself shines. Suddenly, the main character was surprised because another customer entered the store. The girl greeted the buyer. However, instead of an answer, she heard a question from an unfamiliar man about whether she was the same one sentenced to death that Mr. Ranel had taken. Giselle surprisedly asks the gentleman what he is talking about. However, the man, screaming, tells her to answer quickly, as he asks if she is a prisoner, whom Monsieur Ranel took and put to work behind the counter. The girl says that she doesn't really understand what he means by taken away, but she really was offered to work here. Hearing this, the guy screams and says that this cannot be, and he claims that she took his place. Giselle was surprised because she did not know that there was already a candidate for this vacancy, and she doesn't understand what kind of store this is. The guy with red hair claims that he wants to meet Mr. Rennell and asks if she knows where he is. The girl replies that the boss usually does whatever he wants, and she means that he has a busy schedule, and therefore it is difficult even for her to meet with him. However, if he leaves his contact information, she will give it to him. The guy heard this and got angry and asked how he could trust a prisoner sentenced to death. However, the girl replies that he could just call her an escaped prisoner, because there are few references to death. After all, she didn't plan to die anyway. Suddenly, Ten enters the store and asks the girl what happened and explains that he came as soon as he heard the noise. The guy with red hair says that he is already leaving, and turning to the girl, says that she will still wait for him. After some time, the main character opened the door of the store and thought that while the illusion spell was in effect in the alley, she could enjoy the view from here. Giselle realizes that wanted posters with her image are posted all over the street, and therefore she cannot wander around mindlessly. However, she reflects that sitting in the store forever tires her. The girl doesn't understand if it's okay to continue to stay here, and if she just works here, she won't meet the main characters, and she can't help but influence the story. The main character reflects that Rennell does not plan to give her to Wayne, and that is why she will not enter the cloud. The lady asks if she is safe in the store, and she remembers the customer who came in today because at first he made her worry. Giselle thought that she would have to ask Rennell to get a doll that looked like Isabel and put it in a corner for safety. Suddenly, butterflies fly closer to the lady's face, and she asks them in surprise if they want to say something. And at this time the girl was surprised because it seemed to her that they were about to mate. At this time, butterflies began to flap their wings in front of her face, and she does not understand what is happening and asks if they want her to go deeper into the alley. However, the main character does not understand why she should leave, since no one can see her here due to the spell. Sitting in an alley, the main character saw knights, and she thought that their commander was very tall because he was leading a search party. The girl looks at the tall knight with delight and invites the butterflies to look at this masculinity shining through the armor. After all, he has unrealistically colored emerald eyes and shining blonde hair. The main character thought that this warrior looked like a knight from a novel, and he reminds her of the main character Dylan Starcy from the novel The Poisoned Apple. Suddenly, Giselle realizes that this is the main character of the novel. However, she doesn't understand what he's doing here. The main character of the novel looked into the alley, and at that time, the girl thought that they had met his gaze. And after that, the main character runs away because she understands that illusion magic does not work for him, and the reason is that he is a seer of the essence. Giselle reflects that magical tricks against him are ineffective, and she quickly closes the store. The main character does not understand why Dylan is in this city. She hid under the counter and remembers that in the novel, after Giselle's death, he returned to his estate to the main character. Suddenly, the girl realized that the plot might have changed because she was not finished off. The lady reflects that if she meets him now, he will immediately hand over her guard, and she will immediately lose her head. Suddenly, the main character heard that someone wanted to call her owner because the matter was serious. And at that time, she heard strong knocks on the door. The girl was very worried. She didn't understand what to do. But, after a while, the knocking on the door died down. And the main character thought that since he returned from home because of her, that might mean that he would stay here to search. Giselle understands that this cannot be, because she's just a pathetic minor villain, and he has no reason to want her dead so persistently. The main character remembers that Giselle threatened the life of the main character, and after that, she understood what was the matter, because there was a reason. After thinking about all this, the main character smiled and thought that Dylan or a customer could be knocking on the door. The girl looked at the closed door and thought that she had better be brave and check. After she opened the front door a little, she saw a guy with red hair standing next to her. He asks the girl why she locked the door and also covered the windows. However, the lady explains that something happened. Giselle remembered that this guy was the visitor who shouted that she had taken his workplace. The main character asks him if she can help him with anything. The girl reports that she has already been hired and they have signed a contract, and therefore there is nothing to be done here. Having heard this guy, he says that he understood, and he says that he brought something to Mr. Rennell and asks where he is. The lady looked at him and thought that he was surprisingly polite. She says that she is not sure, she can only hope that the master will come soon. After all, they haven't seen him in recent days. And after these words, the main character thought that it seemed that he had not forgotten about her, because he regularly sent food. However, she is interested in where he is now and what he is doing. The red-haired guy asks the lady if she can help him bring the goods. He explains that he came in a cart, but it is so big that it won't fit through the alley. Hearing this, the main character is surprised and asks where she needs to go. The guy explains that she needs to go to the right, since he is blocking the passage, and therefore, most likely, she needs to move and free him. The lady thought that she would not like to show herself on the street now, so that prying eyes would not see her, and she asks the guy if he can handle it on his own. The red-haired guy explains that he is in a hurry and needs to deliver goods to others. And he says, if she behaves like this, he will tell Mr. Rennell that his employee is not helping. Hearing this, Giselle thought that there was nothing she could do because she was still not on probation, and it was important to earn her a good reputation. The girl follows the guy, and at this time she thinks that she will quickly get everything done and lock herself in the store. Approaching the alley, the lady saw that the cart was indeed blocking the passage, and she thought that no one would see them here, not even the guards. And even the guards, who already seemed to have dispersed. The red-haired guy invites the girl to climb into the cart and hand him things. This lady wonders why she should do this, and she says that the delivery guy should flex his muscles, not her. However, the guy, answering, asks her if she can hold it. And he says that then she will be responsible herself. If anything happens, she will break. After looking at all this, the main character thought about what she didn't like here. However, when she climbed into the cart, she saw a lot of boxes and asked which one he needed. The guy says that he needs the one below and then says that it's the one next door. At this time, the main character does not understand which box to take and says that it would be worth signing them. Suddenly, Giselle saw a sword on her shoulders and a voice telling her not to move. Starcy was standing behind her. The red-haired guy turns to the captain and reminds him not to score, issue a public reward, and erase all records of his past misdeeds. However, the knight tells him that they will take into account all his assistance in capturing the villainess. Hearing this, Giselle realized that this bastard had sold her, and she thought that she felt like a fool for falling for him. At this time, Dylan orders that the cart should already be moving. While inside the cart, the young lady suddenly overturned along with all the boxes. However, she saw a sword that was pointed at her and, turning to the knight, says that she thinks that some kind of mistake has occurred here, and you invite him to lower the sword first. After the lady's words, the knight pressed his sword even closer to her chest. Seeing this, the main character, screaming, asks that she not be closer, and she asks if it is possible to intimidate an innocent girl like this. Hearing this, Dylan asks Giselle Robin if she is innocent. The girl explains that many people say that she and she are similar, and so for some reason, she is sure that he was mistaken. At this time, the main character thought that now she would pretend that she didn't know anything. However, the gentleman did not even think about taking the sword, and the lady thought that it did not work, and she asks Dylan where they're going. The knight says that she is getting better at pretending, and he reports that he knows that she summoned an evil consciousness. Hearing this, Giselle was surprised, because she knew that people consider him a seer of essentiality, and she does not understand if what the knight said is true. However, the lady objects and asks how he can call her that, and at first glance, it is clear that he is a kind person. Giselle, screaming, explains that he mistook her for the wrong one. Dylan looks at the girl and asks her if this is a side effect of alchemy. After all, he does not understand that anger has completely consumed her. The knight claims that no matter what happened, but he still doesn't care, because he will finish her anyway. Hearing this, the main character thought that this bastard had dissociative identity disorder, and as far as she remembers, he was kind and sweet to the heroine. The girl understands that Dylan behaves with strangers like a psychopath who does not want to hear anything. The lady asks the knight if they are heading towards the scaffold. He says that first, you need to remove the evil creature it summoned. Hearing this, the main character asks what kind of nonsense he is talking about, and she thought that nothing like this actually happened in the novel The Poisoned Apple. After all, there, for making a deal with the villains, the sorcerer was punished by burning white magic, which is the opposite of dark magic. The girl, screaming, asks what evil means, and she assures that he is the only evil one here and points his finger at the knight. Giselle, screaming, says that he can ask any passerby about this. She asks who is more like the devil, she, who agreed to help someone else bring heavy things, or he who lured a peaceful girl into a trap to burn her. Hearing this, the knight claims that she speaks like nonsense. However, the girl, crying out, asks what is the point of being an entity seer if he is not able to recognize even a good person. Suddenly, Dylan grabs the girl by the throat, and she only has time to say that from now on the conversations will begin. The knight grabs the girl by the throat and asks how she knows about his ability, and he tells her to answer who told her this. At this time, the main character thought about how she could answer him if he was strangling her, and at that time, Giselle thought that she would die like that. If so, she'll become a ghost and haunt his damn protagonist forever. Suddenly, the main character saw butterflies near her, and the knight at this time says that he feels this power. However, after that, Dylan let the girl go, and he looked at the butterflies, and he wondered what this insidious trick was. Suddenly he points the sword at the lady's chest again and declares that the games are over. But after these words, he felt someone push him, and he asks what the hell this is. As long as he doesn't see anyone, however, he feels some kind of magic. At this time, the cape from the cart unscrewed him, and he fell out of it. Ranel tells the lady that if she stands there, she might fall down after him. Upon seeing her boss, Giselle explains that she was not trying to escape, and he heard it, assures her that he knows. The main character sadly says that it was not she who killed his butterflies, and the guy replies that he knows about it too. Ranel asks the lady that there is something she should tell him. Giselle looked at the guy and asks him for forgiveness for leaving the store, and thanks him for saving her. The main character says that even before the boss arrived, butterflies saved her, and that's why she thinks she should thank them first. The guy with black hair explains to her that they are familiar to him, and the girl asks in surprise if he ordered them to protect her. However, the young man replies that he did not do this, and the main character doesn't understand why they did it. However, she suggests that the butterflies themselves could still help her. The lady thought that the guy was stealing well-deserved gratitude from his familiars, and therefore he might be a bad person. Ranel tells the girl that it's written all over her face, and asks if she can imagine how difficult it is to push a moving person over with magic. The girl agrees with him and thanks him for coming. She says she feels like he owes him a lot. Giselle wonders if the familiars will disappear after being cut with a sword. The guy asks the girl what she thinks about it. After all, he ordered them to look after her, and she finished them off. Hearing this, Lady assures him that he is wrong and asks if they are okay. Giselle reflects that she is satisfied with this attitude. But if the boss appeared after the butterflies were cut, then their death may signal something. The main character asks her boss if the guy who put the sword to her chest died. The lady thought that the knight had fallen out of the carriage, and she doesn't understand what will happen to the story if the main character dies. Ranel doesn't understand why she's interested and asks if she wants to finish him off. However, the girl objects and says no, because he must be finished off by someone else, and she thought that this person should be a villain, not her. The guy heard this and smiled and asked if it was true, because she talks like he's a stranger to her. The gentleman claims what he heard, because she fell into madness every time he was wounded, and he says that he knows that she had strong feelings for him. Looking at the guy, the girl thought that he was mocking her again, and deep down, the guy probably knows that she is not Giselle. However, he still continues to chat about the past on purpose. The main character recalls that in the novel, Giselle was obsessed with Dylan and called him dear lover or her love. However, the girl does not understand why everything is like this. However, the girl claims that he is not a stranger to her after all, and she still worries about every scratch he makes. And at that moment, her heart breaks from the thought that he is in pain. Ranel invites the lady to return. However, the main character does not understand why he suddenly makes such a decision. Suddenly, the main character saw magic again, and she thought with delight that they had moved in moments. And this guy has amazing magic. Giselle realizes that Ranel is very strong, and she wonders how strong his leader Wayne Iori is, and when then such a powerful person can die from poison. The girl looked at the bottle of poison and thought that they would never see each other again. However, the gentleman informs her that she will stop fooling around, since these bottles of poison need to be packed and moved to another store. The lady replies that she understands everything and asks if they will seriously endure all this. The boss replies that this needs to be done quickly, and she looked at his face and she felt strange because the guy's mood quickly deteriorated. Ranel explains that the knight found the main store and therefore they need to get out of here as quickly as possible. Hearing this, the main character thought that the guy was sure that Dylan was alive. After all, she understands that he is the main character, and therefore he will not die just like that, because he will somehow recover and start looking for her again. Giselle recalls that after falling from a fast-moving carriage, Dylan was probably seriously injured, but that was none of her business. And at this time, she says that she does not want to touch the cursed objects. And she thought that he was taken care of by the main character, who loves him to death. The lady asks the boss where they will move the things they packed, because he told me to fool around, but he himself does nothing. Renelle replies that they will transport these things to the new store. Hearing this, the lady was surprised, and the guy takes the red liquid and rubs it on the floor. The girl asks if the bubbles will break, and she suggests putting something in the boxes to soften it. After all, she does not want the precious bubbles containing the sweat of her suffering to be damaged. The guy invites the lady to put aside everything that could break. Suddenly, the girl remembered and said that she didn't just go to this bastard. And she remembers that someone actually saw her off, and she says that some guy ratted her out. Randall replies that he knows everything about it. Hearing this girl was surprised and asked how he knew this. The boss wonders if she thinks that his familiars just flew around her. He says he knew she was caught as soon as it happened. Hearing this, the lady was surprised because he was aware of everything, and he just watched until they started strangling her. The guy asks the lady if she is curious what happened to him. However, the girl screams and says no. Randall invites the lady to come to him. At this time, the main character says that she doesn't want to see it because she doesn't like looking at creepy things. However, the guy explains that it's not him he's going to show her. The boss tells the lady that she still has bruises, however, he is glad that she was not burned. After all, compared to this, bruises are just a trifle. Renelle asks the girl if they were going to burn her at the stake. Giselle replies that she is sure, because it is so. However, she remembers that the knight said something about destroying the demon. After all, she doesn't understand how you can call a sane person a demon, since he himself is like a demon. Hearing this, the gentleman agrees with her and says that this damn bastard really is a demon. Giselle, screaming, says that he strangled her so that she could not say a word, but at the same time he yelled for her to answer him. The girl calls the knight crazy. Suddenly, the main character realized that she had said something wrong. After all, she previously said that she was so crazy about Dylan that it hurt her when he simply scratched himself. Renelle asks the lady if this psycho will break her heart now, and the girl replies that it seems that he is saying the right thing. After all, after what he did to her, her opinion towards him changed. The boss asks the main character if she's going to call him all sorts of nicknames like her dear anymore. Hearing this, Giselle thought that she understood what Renelle was worried about before, and she remembers that in the novel Wayne's Poisoned Apple, Ayori was the main villain character, and it would be unpleasant if the employee of the sorcerer and member of the cloud was in love with his rival. Hearing this, the gentleman says that's great, and he realized that there will be no more problems with this. Renelle reports that even with a broken leg, he will bring his knights here tomorrow, and so she offers to be patient for a little while, since they need to move as soon as possible, and when she packs everything, she can rest. Hearing this, the main character thought that this guy was worried about her, and the boss explains that during this time, he will check the magic circle of teleportation. After some time, Renelle reports that the circle is drawn neatly, and he asks the girl if she is ready and says that she can join him in this drawing. The girl came to him, and he informed her that they were leaving. And at that time, the main character felt that she was spinning around with magic. Suddenly, they found themselves in another place, and the lady looked around it with delight. She says the store is very spacious, but looking at the unopened boxes made her realize she still has a lot of work to do. However, the main character saw the boss and asked if he was okay because his behavior somehow alarmed her. The guy claims that now she will live here and invites her to relax after a hard day. However, the girl says that it is not her who needs rest. The young master explains that the store will be closed until they put everything away, and therefore she can rest properly. After all, she must gain strength. Gather strength. Giselle looked at the guy and thought that moving the entire store to a new location had a bad effect on him. And it seems to her that Renelle is very tired of this, and she wonders if he'll be okay. The girl looked at her bed and thought that the guy had also gone to rest. When the lady lay down in her bed and thought that she could finally breathe out, the girl thought that today it was just something, because she really thought that she would die in the cart then. And she has never been as scared as she is today. The main character reflects that from now on, she will not let her guard down like an idiot, because she managed to survive in this reality, and so she must no longer leave Renelle. The man says that the gentleman has come, and the magician asks if the preparations are going according to plan. The man replies that if they continue like this, the knights will not notice anything. Hearing this, the magician says that's great. Wayne asks Vidiro what happened, and after that, the secretary whispered something in his ear, and the magician told him to finish the preparations because everything must be perfect. The secretary reports that the spacebender is ready. Wayne and his secretary come to Renelle, and he asks them if they checked him. The secretary replies that he is alive. I heard this. The gentleman says that he is a difficult person, and therefore it is not so easy with him. Looking at Renelle, Wayne thought that he was not in the best condition. After all, usually when moving large scale in space, he uses enchanted magical objects or the covenant of other sorcerers. The secretary reflects that he still can't believe that Dylan showed up at the store. Vedro will say that he should have returned to his lands earlier, and Wayne says he still knows the location of the store. Wayne says that no matter how hard he tries to get rid of him, it's all to no avail, and he claims that it looks like there is a spy on their team. Ranel offers to evacuate all his people from the city today, and if someone doubts, then immediately exclude him. The master tells Wayne to go to the castle, because he needs to organize several rallies to divert the attention of these scum. The secretary turns to Mr. Renelle and asks about the girl he brought here, and he wonders if by chance she is not Giselle Roisbin, and he asks if he can find out why the master kept her with him. Ranel replies that this girl is her employee. The secretary was surprised when he heard this. The gentleman explains that he hired her. However, Vidros reports that wanted notices have been posted all over the country, and they will have a lot of trouble with her. The black-haired guy explains that her probation period lasts a month, and she is known as Crazy Giselle, and he can call her that, because I'm sure that he will like it. Left alone in the room, the young gentleman wonders if Giselle is sleeping, and at this time the butterflies answer him that she is sleeping. Hearing this, the gentleman says that this girl is very carefree. Renelle went down to the basement with the butterflies, and when he found himself in front of the door, he smiled and thought that although it was troublesome, there was nothing he could do, because he needed to turn to the space curvature gate for help in order to regulate his magic. Entering the store, the guy thought that he was asking someone to help arrange everything here, and after that, he went to Giselle's room and saw the sleeping girl. At this time, the butterflies ask the master if they will continue to protect her. He replies that they must be with her until she wakes up and must carry out the previous order and not let her die. The young master recalls the secretary's words that notices about her being wanted have been posted all over the country, and they will have more trouble with her. Renelle looked at the sleeping girl and thought that he tried very hard not to directly conflict with Dylan. However, everything changed when he caught Giselle, and he wonders whether her life is worth such problems. The young master touches the girl's hair and thinks about it, because he is sure that he will only find out if he continues to look after her. Sitting next to Giselle, the guy with black hair thought that he had not decided this yet. However, he wants her to stay. Dylan, while in his mansion, screams in pain and thanks Vivian for agreeing to help him. Having bandaged the master's body, the girl with red hair says that this is nothing, because for her, as the main character of the novel, it is important that he remained alive. Dylan turns to the girl and says that the witch is again working in tandem with another sorcerer. The blonde-haired knight looks at the girl with red hair and claims that she must return to their lands first. However, Vivian disagrees and says that she will stay here next to him. Hearing this, Dylan objects and asks her if she has forgotten how many times she could have died because of that witch. However, the girl reports that some say that this witch has changed. Hearing this, the fair-haired guy objects and says that this is not true, since the witch has become insane, and that is even worse. Vivian turns to her master and says that they must give her another chance to receive forgiveness from God, and maybe suddenly she will be able to get her cleansed. Dylan confidently says that there is no other way to cleanse a soul consumed by dark magic other than burning in a flame, and he assumes that this witch may suddenly take up her old ways again. The blonde guy asks Vivian if she knows how evil the man is. He reports that this witch may be hiding now and not doing anything, but he is sure that sooner or later she will definitely do something worse. Dylan claims that Giselle Roisbin has long ago walked away from God and suggests that his girlfriend not waste her efforts on such people. Hearing this, the lady with red hair sadly states that she feels sorry for this girl. However, the guy claims that this witch does not deserve pity, and he will soon take care of her. Vivian agrees with the master and tells him to be careful as she hates it when he gets hurt. A girl with red hair asks a blonde guy if he has any news about Renel, and he replies that he knows nothing about him. Vivian wondered where he was and what he was doing now. Dylan says that no one knows about this, and he turns to the girl and says that she better come back for breakfast and as soon as possible. At this time, Giselle, and could not think that in front of her were the villains she had read about in the novel. The young guy asks the lady if she is real and looks at her with delight. The guy says his name is Sully and I on Dr. Drug Researcher. The main character looked at him and thought that she knew this, because he was a mad scientist who experiments with drugs on people and is also addicted to them. The girl realizes that he looks like a child because he took the wrong medicine as a child, although in fact he is much older. And in the novel, he was lynched when he was caught by Dylan during an experiment on Vivienne. Giselle looked at them and thought that the guy behind Sulian was called Gilbert, and she knows him as a hard-working swordsman. Although his command of dark magic is weak, he handles the ball perfectly. And this is the knight who is presented to Wayne. The woman next to them, and her name is Vindria. After all, she is Wayne's right hand and no less important. Giselle recalls that in the novel, they were both necromancers and sorcerers who specialized in curses. And suddenly, the main character realized that this was beyond the scope of the original plot. The lady thought it was amazing because she was definitely inside the world, a poisoned apple, and probably because they are minor characters, since she doesn't feel much pressure and atmosphere like at a fan meeting. And the guy in the white coat, turning to the lady, says that he didn't believe it when they told him that she was crazy. But however, looking at her, it seems to him that this is so. Suddenly, the main character is interested in the question of how they entered if the store is still closed, and she explains that they are not going to open it yet. The secretary asks if she was really hired and says that his name is Vedro, and he is the owner of this building. Seeing him, the main character was surprised, because he is Wayne's assistant. The secretary says he was informed that she was on probation for a month. Having heard this, the girl replies that it is true, and at that time she thought that he was just the owner, and she did not understand how he knew this. Vidro Rolls looks at the lady and asks if her nickname is Crazy Giselle, and he wonders if this is true. When the main character heard this, she smiled and remembered Renel, and thought that he had warned her about this and that it would be fun. Suddenly, the girl thought that she wanted to take back her words of gratitude for the rescue. The lady says that they can simply address her as Giselle, and that's enough. She looks at them and smiles, and makes a cute little face. However, the doctor objects and explains that he was told that she is Crazy Giselle and can be addressed as such. The girl screams and protests that she is not crazy. At this time, Vindria says that when she heard the rumors, she thought that the lady was just pretending, but it seems that they are true. And Gilbert says that she took the wrong medicine, and for him, this is a pity. The doctor says that he understands her, and sometimes it happened that she took the wrong medicine. However, the girl objects and says that this did not happen. And then he agrees with them and says that they can address her and call her whatever they want. Vindria says Crazy Giselle is too long, but she will simply call her Giselle. The secretary reports that he called these guys here so that they could help her arrange everything here. The main character heard this and smiled with pleasure. And at this time, she thought that it seems that in this world, the owner of the building even helps the tenant with the arrangement of goods, and this surprised her a little. The main character turns to Mr. Vidro and asks him if he happens to know where her boss is. However, the secretary does not understand who her boss is, and the girl explains that it is Renel. Vidro answers that he does not know, but only heard that he has important matters, and therefore he will be absent for now. I on Uvariet, and he assures the girl that they will help her at his request. The secretary thought that Renel considered this lady to be very timid and so weak that she was not even able to touch the damned things, so he called them. The doctor tells the woman that it appears that the secretary did speak to the gentleman before leaving. The main character looked at the people who were putting things away and thought that all the characters in this novel have double personalities. And as it relates to Dylan and the villains, they are very different from the way she imagined them. And after a while, the store became cozy, and all the things were in their places. Cozy. Sitting at the table with her assistants, the main character wonders how they all came here. The doctor says that the clinic that serves only villains, where he works, is next to this building, and he reports that this clinic is not registered. Sullivan reports that Windria's laboratory is on the second floor, and Gilbert lives next to her. Hearing this, the girl was surprised and asked if she was serious, and she says that this is literally a lair of villains, because this time the guy in the white coat agrees with her, and they laugh together. The doctor looked at the girl's neck and said about her bruises, "He doesn't even know what medicine can remove them." Windria says that she also does not have healing magic, and therefore cannot help her with anything. Hearing them, the lady thought that dark magic does not heal anything, and like light magic, does not impose a curse. Giselle explains that the bruises will go away on their own and tells them not to worry about it. Hearing this, Gilbert objects and says that that bastard used dirty light magic, and he says that for them it is like poison. Hearing this, the main character was surprised, because light magic is poisonous for them, and she asks about it. Windria explains that you can say that because she is the opposite of dark. However, the main character does not understand why it is poisonous and whether this means that it will not affect her. The lady understands that it is unlikely, since poison and mana are two different things, which explains her bruises. Cillian says that the mana Dylan used is formless energy, similar to magic, and the difference is that magic is an innate talent, and mana is acquired during training. At this time, the main character remembered in the novel how Vivian helped Dylan with training, and she understands that the point is the similarity of magic and mana. Giselle touches her neck and thinks that Dylan's mana has the properties of magic, and she doesn't understand how she knows if it affected him. The girl asks, since she is not a witch, nothing bad will happen to her because of the contract with mana. Windria Gavorit Otam, because she heard that the girl made a contract with the sorcerer with golden magic, and asks if this is so. Indeed, in this case, part of her is affected by dark magic. Hearing this, the main character was surprised because she didn't even know about it. Giselle realizes that she needs to be alone for a while and think about all this, and she turns to them and says that she will bring more food. The main character looked at herself in the mirror and thought about how it turns out that he used mana when he strangled her, and the bruises did not look like ordinary ones. The doctor, turning to the girl, says that Dylan is just as ignorant for strangling her to such a state. He says, "Lady, she should never expect good from such people." However, Sullivan does not understand how you can treat a mad woman like that. After all, this is too much, and asks if she agrees with him. Hearing this, the lady smiled and thought that she was glad, because he was on her side, and it would be better if he stopped considering her crazy. Windria claims that the girl was lucky, because not a single sorcerer has ever survived a clash with Dylan. Hearing this, the doctor agrees with her, and says that she said everything correctly, because the sorcerers are afraid of him, and he assures that Dylan has blue blood, and as soon as he gets the opportunity, he will draw with it. However, the woman says that he will be finished off long before that. Suleiman asks the woman if she felt sorry for him. Windria replies that it is because of her pumped-up body, but, of course, she would not want to become a corpse, and she says that they have gone too far off topic. Gilbert suggests that Giselle take the purple ball and throw it at Dylan, and the girl asks where he got the ominous ball. The guy explains that this item is from the store. She is the main character, turns to Sir Gilbert, and says that if he didn't know, then this thing belongs to the store and it's expensive. However, the guy asks what of this, and hearing this, the main character thought that she could do without it. The doctor says that the lady should have listened to Gilbert, and he invites her to take at least one ball for self-defense, since Dylan is an unusual person, but a fighter who kills for a blow. When Giselle heard this, he thought that in the novel he seemed righteous, and therefore would look for her until the very end. And she remembers Dylan, who asked her how she knew about her, about his ability, and the girl thought that she had made a mistake. The lady thought that Dylan's ability is a big secret that is revealed only in the second half of the book, and since she already said that she knows about her, Dylan will look even harder to finish her off. Windria saw the worried girl and tells her not to worry too much. After all, even if he shows up here, they will not stay away. Suleiman agrees with the woman and says that they will protect her, since the lady is a valuable employee of the store. Windria claims that they will protect her as long as they live, and the three of them are stronger. Hearing Ito Devushka Govorit, Što niczego, ved ona mojet sama o sebe. However, the woman comes up to her and pats her on the head and offers to simply thank her when the elders say that they will protect her. And after that, Windria smiles and says that except for Sullian, he will never become an adult. Hearing this, the doctor screams and asks why she is talking about him like that. Suddenly, Giselle screams, and when the doctor sees her, he asks what it is and if her neck hurts. The main character replies that nothing hurts her and says that this is the first time someone has told her that they will protect her. Giselle understands that until she came into this world, she had to decide everything herself. Solomon asks how scary this Dylan guy is, and the doctor doesn't understand what he did since Giselle Roisman herself became so weak. Gilbert tells the girl not to worry and assures her that it is safe here. The doctor agrees with him and says that what he said was true, and especially with Gilbert around, he has a heightened sense of responsibility when it comes to protection. Solomon reports that he has also arranged a place in the clinic where she can hide. The main character says that now touching cursed objects is not so scary. Giselle thought that the situation with Dylan and everything that was happening in this world was throwing her thoughts into chaos. However, she cannot hide forever, and she understands this. Suddenly, the girl remembered that she was a valuable employee, and it was time for her to open a store. The main character says that you need to work harder so that the money flows like a river. And at this time, Ranel, who is standing behind her, asks if this river of money is the salary that he owes her. Hearing this, the girl was both frightened and surprised. Giselle turns to the boss and claims that she cannot understand that he does not move through the door, but through the curvature of space, and she asks him to make some sounds. The lady claims that if she dies from fright, she will then demand compensation. Ranel asks the lady if the others have noticed that she is boring and slow. Hearing this, the main character, screaming, asks who these others are. Mr. explains Vedro, Vindria, Sulian, Gilbert. Having heard their names, the main character explains that they are just different. Ranel says that she made so much noise and asks if it's worth it. The girl says that she finished arranging the objects as early as possible and had already rested. The main character looked at the boss and asked if he was okay. The gentleman says what he heard because she was crying. Ranel explains that the guys told him because they offered to protect her, and it upset her so much that she burst into tears. Hearing this, the lady objects, screaming. The young master says that after the rescue, she forced herself to thank him, and they just brought her to tears, and he asks her about it. Giselle explains that, of course, she's more grateful to him. Suddenly, Ranel Odavat Sharf Nasheyu lady and invites her to wear it. After all, later he will choose a more suitable one. The young gentleman invites the girl to go for a walk. However, the main character does not understand how she can leave the store and asks him about it. Ranel explains that today, they can definitely delay the opening. The guy tells the girl that he will show her the city. Walking around the city, the gentleman reports that this is the street of villains, and it is called Barchnell. Coming out of the store, the main character was surprised because she couldn't believe that it was located in the very center of the city, and she asks the guy why he chose such a good place. Ranel explains that this is the busiest part of the city, and he points to a stand that is famous for its fresh fruit. The guy points out that the largest sweet shop in Barnhall is opposite, and seeing this building, the main character was surprised. The gentleman continues to say that sometimes a cart with sausages stops in front of them, and they are served first, so if she wants, she can just go out. Hearing this, the girl says that he is the best. The main character at this time thought that this was amazing, because there was a lot of delicious food everywhere. And she understands that work is not such a bad thing after all. Suddenly, the main character says that it's good because there is plenty of food around, but she doesn't think it's suitable for them. And she quietly reports that they are villains and asks if he is sure that it is possible to open a store in such a place. Ranel claims that this is Barnhill, and it is quite far from the city they were in before. Hearing this, the main character calmed down and thought that no one would look for her in this city. The girl remembers that in the novel, the city of Barnhill was a place where only villains and criminals could go. However, in order to live here, they are obliged to follow the only rule, and that is to expel those who create unrest. The main character understands why people in this city pay attention to passers-by. The gentleman asks the lady if she understands what he was telling her, and the girl looked at him and said that she understood everything, because this was a great place for a store. Giselle reports that Wayne's headquarters is also here. Ayori is located. Hearing this, Ranel says that he knew that she was aware, and he invites her to be honest about how much she knows about Wayne. The main character explains that she has the same idea as other people about the cloud. She explains that she said she knew a little about his future, but not all the details. And at this time, the girl remembers that in the novel, he was mentioned only as an attractive man with silver hair. Ranel asks the lady if she is sure about this, and the girl agrees with him. Suddenly, the main character felt her stomach churning, and the gentleman asks if it's time for dinner and if she agrees with him. At the restaurant, the main character tried very tasty dishes, and she ate her fill. As the lady leaves the restaurant, she says that this establishment serves excellent food. Hearing this, the master thought that she was insatiable. Walking down the street, the main character enthusiastically says that she cannot believe that she will no longer have to hide. The girl reports that from now on this city will become her second home. Ranel asks the lady where her first home is. Giselle says only she knows. And at that time, I thought that he would still understand, even if she didn't say. Suddenly, a carriage passed near them, and at that time the young gentleman quickly reacted and pushed the girl aside. At this time, the main character thought that she was almost run over. Young master explained that if a carriage runs over her here, it will be her own fault. Hearing this, the girl asks, screaming why. However, the guy says that this is Barnhill. Giselle, screaming, says that they are expelled for riots and asks if this is so. The guy says that this is if she suits them. Ranel argues that you can ask nicely and no one will pay any attention to her. Hearing this, the main character thought that she was taking back the words about the second house. The girl says that the store is the safest place. The young master suggests that she take Gilbert with her when she goes out somewhere. The girl heard this and asks if he is not accompanying his head. Ranel asks if he identified himself as Wayne's bodyguard. However, the girl replies that she simply assumed that. The guy asks based on this very information that she has. The young master reports that Gilbert, a subordinate who carries out his master's orders, and if she asks him for help, he will agree. Hearing this, the main character was surprised because she thought that his head ordered him to protect her. And the girl asks if he knows about her and if Renane told him about her. She wonders if Wayne will come to the store and if she can meet him. The black-haired guy asks the lady if she really wants to see Wayne. Looking at the gentleman, the main character does not understand what is wrong since he suddenly became angry. And the lady thought that he did not want to introduce her to his head. Giselle says about what she heard, because they say that he is the most handsome. The guy says that, since this is the case, and after these words, he thought about it. The main character realized that the gentleman didn't like it, that if she worked for Wayne, he would lose his employee. And she thinks this is cruel, because she also wants to be successful. The girl reports that they say he has very beautiful silver hair and asks if this is true. The gentleman replies that, probably. Giselle says that it is impossible to forget such beauty once you see it. She says that since his head already knows about her and asks if she can see him once. After all, she also wants to see what his hair looks like. The young master asks the lady if she likes the color silver. However, the girl replies that not really, and rather, she is simply interested in him. Ranel asks if she likes black hair, and at this time he touches his hair. Giselle invites the guy to calm down and reports that he was jealous of the beauty of his head. The young master replies that he is not worried at all, because he does not understand why admire those whom you do not know at all, and he asks why people are so flighty. The girl asks if he wants to say that his head is ugly. However, the guy objects and says that's not what he meant. The young master remembers what the girl told him when he first met her. Ranel says that he is curious about something because she said that she knows the future of important people. The young master wonders if Dylan is one of them. The main character looked at the guy and replied that he was coming in. The guy asks if this is true. After all, he is interested in what will happen to him soon and asks if he is being poisoned. Giselle replies that he will soon be killed, and Ranel asks who. The girl says Wayne will do it Ayori. The young master heard this and smiled, and said that then it would be clear to him what would eventually become of Dylan. The main character looked at the guy and thought that she couldn't believe that he was so happy about the news about Dylan's murder. The girl thought about whether his master could hate him so much, and she suggests that this may be because he has long been an enemy of sorcerers. The young master invites the girl to go, and at this time, she thought about whether there was another reason. Ranel informs the lady that he needs to go away on business, and so he invites the girl to rest. Suddenly, butterflies fly into the room, and the girl is very happy, and she says that she knew, because they are alive. The young master calls the red one Ren and the blue one Wang. The main character asks in surprise if these are their names. Ranel says that if you don't know the name of your familiars, you can't communicate with them. He says that she treated them badly because they couldn't talk, but now they can. Hearing this, the main character does not understand when this happened and asks him about it. The girl assures that she did not treat them badly, and she asks the butterflies to confirm this. Wang says that when they warned her about the danger, she thought that they wanted to mate. The blue butterfly calls the lady a fool. The red butterfly claims that she did not understand them at all. Hearing this, the main character objects and screams that this is not so. Renelle explains that now she can thank them. However, the girl Nepomunit Parnu said that she had already said that they need to say thank you first of all. While sitting in the store, the main character thought that since Wayne asked Gilbert to accompany her, she thought that he would soon come to the store. Giselle says that it is difficult when a beautiful man is a delight for the eyes and difficult to meet. The red butterfly communicates that she wants her comrades to be strong and beautiful. And the blue butterfly says that in order to meet a good person, you need to be strong and beautiful yourself. The main character, turning to the grandmothers, offers to listen to her, and she says that she is sorry that she misunderstood them then, and asks if they could stop talking nonsense. Ren asks the girl why she eats sweets every day and never exercises, and Van reports that the lady is too lazy. And this is the main character answering that for an office worker, torture with sugar is a matter of survival. And she claims that butterflies cannot know about this. The red butterfly claims that the lady has given up, and the blue butterfly says that she will not get a great partner. Hearing this, the main character screams that their words are enough for her and invites them to stop. And at that time, she thought that she needed to do something to keep them quiet. The girl asks the butterflies to put an end to her torment. Ren asks the lady how she usually communicates with the boss, and she wonders if this could be through telepathy. The red butterfly states that they only speak when the master allows them. Hearing this, Giselle thought that through butterflies she could quickly communicate with the gentleman. The red butterfly says that if they are attacked, the master will know. However, the main character says that it is better not to get hit. Giselle thought that since she and Renelle had entered into an agreement, it was time to summarize the contents of the novel and what would happen in the future. Since Dylan has already encountered it, and therefore needs a little preparation. The main character turns to the butterflies and tells them that she is going to work and asks them to stop talking. Lady writes in a notebook that the second part begins when the villainous Giselle disappears, and Wayne Ayori, the real villain, shows up. Vivian, Dylan, and Wayne, the three of them, are a great collection of sorcerers. In the original, Wayne gathered together scattered sorcerers and tried to make all countries dependent on dark magic. And in the process of demonstrating the power of the sorcerers, he organized a meeting. Giselle thought that she remembered how he tried to sacrifice an entire city, since she is not sure what exactly the sorcerers were doing, because in the poisoned apple, the emotions of the heroes are described more. The girl remembers that by this moment Vivian was dying from poison, because before her death, Giselle used all her skills. However, the main character understands that she called her, and not Vivian's departure, and the girl understands that in that moment, everything has changed. The lady realizes that Vivian is no longer cursed, and she is interested in this. The main character does not understand what will happen next, since she will become stronger than herself from the book. The lady thinks that maybe the villains will be defeated, and at that time she thought that this might mean the end for her. The girl understands that she cannot rely only on villains, and thinks that therefore she should help them more persistently. Giselle says that if she ends the curse, everything will return to normal. Suddenly, Vindria enters the room and asks if she needs a curse. The main character, screaming, asks the woman when she arrived. Vindria replies that she just did, and if a curse is needed, then let her know, because a woman can help her at an inexpensive price. Hearing this, the lady objects and says that's not the point. Iona. And she asks if creating a curse is difficult. The woman asks if she wants to learn, and she says that she knows how to curse, but does not take students. Suddenly, Teng enters the store, and the lady thought that he behaves differently in the new store. The guy turns to Mrs. Windria and says that he cannot believe that she personally came here. The main character looked at the guy who was looking at the woman with delight and thought that now it would be difficult for her to talk to him. Vindria says that they have already moved the entire store and asks why they need a delivery man. However, Ten claims that he is not the delivery man, but her only student. Suddenly, the woman screams and says that she does not need students. However, the guy does not intend to give in at all and asks why they are not memories. Giselle remembers that Ten said that he was a student of a sorcerer and his mentor was Vindria. One lady understands that the woman does not think so, unlike him. The guy looks at the woman and asks her not to reject him. And the main character approaches them and invites them to argue in another place and arrange a showdown on the street. the main character thought that Ten behaved like a child in the presence of Windria. Having sent them outside, the lady thought that peace was the most important thing. However, a few minutes later, people enter the store and greet Giselle. At this time, the main character is thinking that she needs to think through everything, how she will have free time before bed. And she says that she has a lot to do. Ranel thought that Giselle would go have fun. However, he was mistaken because the girl turned out to be quite hardworking. The young master reflects on how the lady used to go to Wander Alley at any time possible, and now it works diligently. The guy thinks that the store has more weekends than working days, and therefore, if it is closed, no one will say anything. Suddenly, Ranel heard a cry that these people were vile sorcerers. The young gentleman became interested and came closer. He saw a man who, screaming, asked how long this would continue. And after his words, one of the knights, screaming, suggests that he close his mouth and at the same time call him a traitor. Ranel saw Wayne, and he approached him and asked if he would allow him to take the man. And the man with silver hair says he doesn't mind, and the gentleman thanks him for the opportunity. The young master looks at the guy. However, he screams and says that he won't tell him anything. And after these words, Ranel stuffs a rag into his mouth and informs him that there is no need to say anything and invites him to simply not die. Wayne announces that he will install another protective barrier, and the gentleman agrees with him. Ranel asks Wayne how much magic he needs to use to get that perfect silver hair color. Hearing this, the man was surprised and wondered if his master was asking him. However, Ranel claims that it is not the guy with the gag in his mouth. The magician reports that he was surprised when the master decided to take care of him personally, and he asks if the gentleman plans to change his hair color. Ranel says that it won't help him even if he makes a decoction. The magician confirms his words and says that this will not change anything. Wayne looked at the gentleman, and he did not understand what was happening, because he was irritated even when one blonde hair appeared, and he assumes that something serious might have happened. The young master is interested in the fact that the silver hair is as beautiful and shiny as his. Wayne asks for forgiveness, and that maybe his obsession with his new employee is actually an illness. However, the guy says that this is an unpleasant way to accuse him of being crazy. The magician tilts his head and asks if his hair is shiny. Seeing them, the young master asks if he has gone crazy. Wayne replies that this is the answer he could give. However, the master assures him that he is simply blind. The magician claims that if he wants to use his powers to the fullest, he must move for several days in a row. And if he uses them as thoughtlessly as last time, they will immediately dry up. Ranel says even though he is ignorant, he managed to cope because he has the ability. Hearing this, Wayne claims that it is a waste of magical power. The magician reports that he was surprised to learn that the master had moved the main store to Barnell, because he always said that it was too safe and boring, so they opened a store opposite the knight's post. Ranel says that the store staff is weak, and what's more, Dylan branded Giselle's neck with magic, and so that he cannot get on the trail of the mark, it is better to hide in Barnhill, where various magical powers are mixed. The young master claims that the mark is not eternal, but it cannot be removed by force, and all he can do is wait for her to disappear. At this time, he remembered Dylan and thought that they were all annoying scum. Ranel tells Wayne to go to the store after work because he has a fan there. The magician asks about a probationary trainee, and he replies that she is no longer an intern. The guy talks about how he wants to promote her to an official employee for her hard work. Wayne reports that Vedro also spoke, because recently sales have gone up, and he says that he heard that the girl can distinguish between poisons in one sip. Magician, I'm sure that this is exactly the same Giselle, and it seems that the rumors about her insanity are true. Ranel says she's crazy. After all, no matter how you look at it, she is different from the one who can really be called that, because no one knows the real Giselle. After all, in this world, the only one who is able to see her in the body of Giselle Roisman is Ranel. The magician asks the master if he is sure that he wants to leave everything like this. However, the dark-haired guy replies that they are both busy people, and he doesn't intend to leave it just like that, and will quickly check the trader's head and then let him go. Wayne was surprised when he heard this, and the young master thought that the bait would attract Dylan's attention to his people, and he would go after him, but in the end, he would lose the trail. Ranel wonders what will happen if he breaks his mind and lets him go. And will the master of light magic notice this? The young master is interested in the question of whether Vivian misses him. At this time, the main character, sitting in the store, thought that she just wanted to work in silence. However, Giselle does not succeed because Ten is sitting in the store with her and wonders when Mrs. Vindria will come. The lady doesn't understand how this happened and asks the guy not to fall asleep. Suddenly, the girl saw that dark sawdust was falling around her. Iona ne ponimait where it had come from. Giselle guessed that this pilus is poisonous and suggests that the red butterfly not finish off the guy, since he is a guest. Ren explains that he makes a lot of noise and she can't sleep. The lady says that everything is correct, but suggests that the butterfly remove the paralyzing sting. At this time, Ten says in despair that he didn't even think that Lady Vindria would turn away from him. The main character says that now is not the time to cry, since he almost died. The lady thought that it was more important now to stop her familiars. Suddenly Giselle saw the barefoot, and as always she was surprised, because he always appears so suddenly. The gentleman asks why he should do this, and at this time the main character thought about why he was in such a terrible mood again. Ranel says that when he moved the main store to a larger location, he did not even mean that it was possible to do so. However, the girl does not understand anything and asks what he is talking about. The young master claims that he did not allow his lover to be brought here. Hearing this, the lady was surprised and said that this was nonsense. Giselle asks if he's talking about Tina and points at the guy. The young master asks her why she is revealing his name to him if they will not meet again in the future. At this time, the lady thought what horror and screaming explained that he did not know him, since he was the student of Lady Vindria. The lady explains that she wouldn't have the guts to go on a date, because her head is already full of worries. Hearing this, Ranel says that he was mistaken, and he walked up to the girl and shook her hair. And after that, the girl invites him not to touch her bangs. The young master wonders why Ten is here. The lady explains that he first came as a client. However, upon hearing this, Ranel asks which client would stay at such a late hour. Giselle reports that she, as an employee, wants to notify her boss that there are several serious shortcomings in this place, because customers don't care at all about store opening hours. The girl explains that she will give an example to the Shadow and Lady Windria. She explains to avoid Ten, who has been waiting here all day. Lady Vindria started coming early in the morning. The lady explains that even if she is sleeping, the woman opens the door and comes in and leaves money on the counters and takes items. Giselle wonders, since this is the case, why they set opening hours in the first place. Hearing this, the young master claims that Vindria can get rid of him, and he does not understand why she prefers to avoid him. The main character explains that they have personal reasons, because Ten clings to Windria and asks not to reject him, and she prevaricates, saying that she does not take students. Vindria enters the store and says that the door is open today. Hearing this, Ranel claims that she can ask him about it personally. The young gentleman tells the woman that the store is closed, and he explains that if the store is closed, then she will have to wait until it opens. Ranel says that she also brought her personal life into this, and explains that his employee is intimidated by this big guy, and he asks if he should deal with him instead of her. Vindria thanks him for his concern, and quits worrying as she will take care of him herself. At this time, Ten saw the lady and said that he was glad to see her. However, the woman, screaming, calls him an idiot and asks him to come to his senses and follow her. Giselle thought that she had no idea that Vindria was so afraid of the boss, and she thought that this woman saved Tinu's life. Ranel asks the lady why she is sad, maybe because Ten left. However, the lady explains that this is not the case at all. The young master asks the girl why she looks at him sadly. The lady replies that it is not longing, but selfless love for humanity, which she has watched with alarm. The lady wonders what the boss was up to at such an hour. Ranel explains that he didn't plan to come, but there was a guy sitting in the store and she looked tired. So I came in to see if she had been tricked again and to follow him. Hearing this, the girl claims that she is not so stupid, and she asks the gentleman if he followed the stranger at dawn, and she wonders if she is telling the truth. The boss replies that he would probably agree with her, and Giselle says that it would have been better earlier when that guy took advantage of her mercy and asked her to help move the goods. Giselle says that since he is convinced that she is not in danger and invites him to go and rest, since she will also go. The guy claims that this is his store and asks where he should go. Hearing this, the lady was surprised and then invite him to go home. The boss asks if she wants to kick someone out at this late hour. After all, he condemns it. The girl says that he himself just drove away the annoying clients, and she explains that she is a worker who provides housing and food here. The main character reports that the only room in the store belongs to her. Hearing this, the gentleman agrees with her and says that he knows it. The lady then asks where he is going to sleep. The guy claims that there is a room, and the lady wonders if he offers her to sit on the floor of the store. Ranel asks why she would do this if she has her own room. However, the girl answers that she means that there is only one room. Giselle does not understand why the boss, out of the blue, called Ten her lover and then drove him away. And after all this, he begs to sleep in her room. The main character, screaming, reports that she does not meet with her colleagues. Hearing this, the young master asks if she is really crazy. And at this time, the main character realized that this was not the case, and she felt shame. Giselle makes excuses and says that it was he who said it, which can be understood in two ways. The boss reports that he is tired and suggests that the girl simply close the store. However, the lady asks him to wait and asks why he is heading to her room, and she asks if he is sure that he needs to go there. Ranel did not answer, and the main character screams that she has an evil boss. Hearing this, the young master turns around and says that he is thinking of giving her a couple of days off from tomorrow for working hard, and he will pay the vacation pay. The girl invites her boss to sleep well, as she will settle down on the floor of the store. However, Ranel used magic to move the bed into the store. The guy says that she makes a lot of noise and invites the girl to go to his room, and he will stay here. The young master says that he also does not like meeting his colleagues. And at this time, the main character thought that he was making fun of her again. The next morning, Giselle screams with pleasure that today is the weekend, and this is freedom for the office worker after difficult working days. As the lady approached the door, she thought that she would go to the bakery that Sullian had spoken of and get a little of everything. Walks po magazinu, she says that she will rest all day. Suddenly, the girl notices a gentleman reading a book and asks in surprise if he has left yet. The lady invites the guy to leave his vacation money on the counter and go about his business. Hearing this, Ranel asks if she is asking to give the money so that she can leave as quickly as possible. However, the girl says that she said the wrong thing, and the guy says what he meant. The young master tells the girl to get ready as they are going to have breakfast. The lady was surprised when she heard this, but the guy says that he told her that from that day on, it was her weekend. Ranel tells the girl that she can already have fun. However, the main character apologizes and thought that she was going to lock herself in the room today, and she asks if he knows what the weekend is. The young master reports that the weekend is a time to have fun. However, the lady objects and says no, since for her the weekend is a time of rest. Yes, when Ranel heard this, he was surprised. However, Giselle says that these are completely different things, and even if she went to have fun, then why would she need him? At this time, the main character thought that this would not be a weekend, but over time. The young master turns to the lady and says Chtopo Koje that she is angry. Ranel claims that Giselle is wanted. I heard this girl answer that they are in Barnhill, and she doesn't understand why she's worried about the guards. Because this place is full of criminals. The gentleman asks if the lady thinks that she has only harmed ordinary people. Ranel claims that no one will pester her in the store, but suggests that she should not leave here alone. The girl says that Gilbert goes with her everywhere. The guy claims that it's Gilberta Drugi business and asks if he told her about it. Suddenly, the girl remembers and says what he said. And so she decided to walk to the nearest bakery and rest for the rest of the day. The young gentleman looked at the girl and said in surprise that her bruises still haven't gone away. And he offers to fix it and asks if she minds. Giselle asks if the bruise can be removed and she wonders where. The guy reports that there is one place. At this time, the main character thought about what kind of a day off she needed to spend with her boss, and she says that she is ready and invites him to go. Ranel looks at the girl and says that she is wearing work clothes and asks if she will stay in work clothes on her day off. Hearing this, the girl laughed, and she claims she doesn't have much to wear. The surprised gentleman asks what happened to her salary. The girl says that she cannot eat only rice, and therefore she bought sweets so as not to get bored at work. The guy asks if she spent all the money on this. The lady explains that life in the city is more expensive than she thought, and asks if it could be that they are in the center. Giselle smiled and invited her boss to go have breakfast. Ranel says that after they eat, they will go to the store for clothes. Walking down the street, the main character screams and says that this is great, and she claims that the guy is a good boss and she will be faithful to him. Ranel asks if she will get an upset stomach, and she claims that she ate a lot. Giselle says this happened because she didn't eat enough before, and Devushka Podumala Otam that she comes to him with all her heart, and he suspects her. The young gentleman explains that he went away for a minute and she ordered a whole bunch of everything and didn't count how many plates were standing next to her. The lady explains that she worked up an appetite for this, and I thought that if the boss was paying, then I should take something more expensive. Ranel invites the girl to forget everything. After all, he hopes that she liked everything, and he invites her to go get some clothes. Hearing this, the girl screams that she forgot that they still need to go shopping, and the lady asks the guy why he didn't remind her about this earlier. However, the gentleman asks why and explains that they will simply buy something that fits the current size, and he does not understand what the problem is. However, Giselle says that he is stupid, since this is a whole bunch of problems for her. Arriving at the store, they are greeted by a saleswoman who welcomes them. The main character was surprised when she saw a lot of things in the store. The saleswoman looked at the girl and recognized her as Mrs. Giselle Robin, and she reports that she is glad to meet her. The woman cannot believe that she visited them, and she says that she so wanted to see her in person. However, upon hearing this, the main character was surprised because she did not understand anything. The saleswoman reports that the lady is the first villain who got into Soltia's tower and got out of there alive. Hearing this, the main character thought that she was not a villain. The woman claims that prisoners in this prison are killed before execution, and she asks how many the lady has dealt with. Giselle thought that they themselves drank the poison and died, and she had nothing to do with it. The saleswoman says that there is still a rumor that she survived her meeting with Dylan. Hearing this, the young gentleman claims that they came here on business and suggests not chatting anymore and better show them the clothes. The woman says it's a women's store, and she asks what he's doing here. Giselle turns to her boss and wonders if he's going to start a confrontation with the owner, and she asks why there is such an oppressive atmosphere. At this time, the red butterfly says that the saleswoman will not cross the line because the master is strong, and the lady asks whether it is better to be friends with a strong man. And the blue grandmother claims that the master is strong and therefore buries those he doesn't like. When the main character heard this, she was very surprised and scared. Giselle thought that she could pretend that she had not heard anything, and she, turning to the boss, says that she is very faithful to him. Ranel says she looks sick, and so he will ask Sullian to examine her later. The saleswoman thanks them for what they expected and reports that she brought a lot of different things, and everything will suit the lady perfectly. The woman shows the dress and offers to take a look, since the fabric is so dark that it will barely be visible at night. Heard this, the gentleman says great. However, the main character thought that she was still sleeping at night. The saleswoman shows another dress and says that it is elastic and strong fabric, and therefore will not tear during an escape or chase. The young gentleman claims that he has never seen such fabric before and asks if there is a male version. However, the woman assures him that they only sell women's clothing. And the saleswoman offers another dress and says that if she gets blood on her, she can easily wipe it off with plain water. Hearing this, Giselle smiled because she hopes that this will never happen. After leaving the store, they bought a lot of different things, and the girl asks if these clothes are comfortable for running, and he says that she will be in the store when you might need her. Ranel says that he will only be glad if she doesn't need it. Hearing this, the main character thought that since Ranel says so, Dylan must have not given up trying to find her. The young gentleman asks why carry everything in your hands, and he offers to leave everything at once in the store. Freeing her hands from the bags, the lady says that magic is a convenient thing, and thanks the gentleman for this. Giselle asks her boss if he can teach her something for self-defense. However, the gentleman replies that there is no magic for self-defense, and he asks if she thinks anyone can have her. The lady says that since she knows that you need to be born with magical powers, there must be another option. And he says that, for example, a potion that easily and quickly transforms the amount of magical power, even in someone who does not have it at all. Ranel reports that it is very dangerous to try to gain magic that you do not possess with your own hands. The girl says that everything is clear to her, but she is interested in what sorcerers do about magic. They get it. The gentleman explains that magical power has the concept of an attribute that is determined from birth, and the same applies to the size and vessels in which it is contained. Strong sorcerers are already born that way, and only the time when the power appears is different. Hearing this, the main character thought that she couldn't even believe that in the world of magic, everything depends on innate predisposition, and she wonders what about divine power. The lady says that light magic is based on divine power, and sorcerers use magical power, and she wonders why magicians don't. The boss asks if she knows the difference between divine power and magical power, and he reports that she is not there. Hearing this, Giselle was surprised, because she does not understand why this is so. The gentleman claims that there is no fundamental difference between these two forces, and he says that she's probably not interested and suggests changing the subject. At this time, Giselle wonders why there is no difference. After all, isn't divine power perfect and similar to the blessing of God? And if they are generally similar, then what is the difference between sorcerers and magicians? The girl does not understand why the two main characters punish the sorcerers with the poisoned apple. The guy asks the lady what she is doing and invites her to come to him. And at this time, the girl remembered that Renelle had said that here it would be possible to remove the bruise. Suddenly, the girl heard a strange sound, and she wonders why they don't come in. Suddenly, the guy hugs the girl, and she asks why the boss is doing this. And at that time, an explosion was heard. However, the main character and Ranel were not harmed, since the magician protected them. Renelle asks if the lady is okay. She replies that she is fine and asks if he is safe. The gentleman is interested in what happened here. After all, everything in this house is black, and the doors are broken. Suddenly, a man comes out to them and asks if they were hurt. He explains that he was creating a bomb, but due to his mistake, it suddenly exploded. Seeing Mr. Renelle, he asks how Mr. Wayne is doing, and he wonders what brought them here. And when he saw the girl, he asked not Giselle, about whom there are rumors. The guy with glasses says that it is a great honor for him to meet her. The man says that his name is Michel, and he is the culprit of the incident with the bombing of the Imperial Palace 10 years ago. Michel says he's looking at a lady who has a hefty bounty on her, and he claims that it seems that she is a big villain. And at this time, the guy with glasses thought that among the villains, this is considered a worthy reason for praise, and asks if she minds shaking his hands. Suddenly, Michel, I am. The gentleman grabs my hand, and the man says that if they want to blow something up, they can simply buy a bomb from him, because he will give them a discount. Giselle argues that there is no need, and Renelle says that everyone is so interested in her because the lady is now a celebrity. The girl replies that, for his information, she is not at all happy about this. The gentleman asks if Emily is at home, and Michelle offers to take them to her office. While at the door, Giselle asks if anything will happen if they enter without permission. When they entered the room, the main character saw the doll and thought that this was her friend Isabel. When Giselle looked around the room, she was surprised and thought that maybe evil spirits were being called here. The young master tells her not to be afraid, and the girl thought about what she doesn't like here. The main character thought that the doll was probably angry because they invaded her without an invitation, and she asks if they can leave, because they might be cursed here. Suddenly, Renelle kicks the doll, and seeing this, the lady asks if he has gone crazy. After all, she doesn't understand how anyone could kick her, and she thinks that she might suddenly harbor a grudge against them. Renelle tells the girl to stop talking nonsense and tells her to go, since they can't just stand here. And he asks the lady if she wants him to bring it to her. The main character heard this and quickly evaded his hands, and the gentleman asks her that his touch is worse than a curse for her. The girl explains that she has not yet digested breakfast. Randall argues that it is unlikely that much will change. However, the girl objects and invites them to go. Entering the room, Giselle saw a woman Kotoraya Chtotu doing laundry and magic scattered around her, and she thought that it was Emily. The young gentleman approaches the woman, and when she saw them, she called him her baby. The young master asks how long she will call him that, and explains that he is not a baby, but Randall. Seeing them, the main character thought that her boss looked unusually peaceful. The woman asks if he has finally come to show her his daughter-in-law. The boss explains to Giselle that Emily was joking. Hearing this, the main character thought that they did not look like real grandmother and granddaughter, and she wonders what their relationship is like. Grandmother says that since he came on this occasion, and asks if he can represent his bride when she has such a weird thing around her neck. Emily looks at Giselle and asks what dangerous thing she is wearing around her neck, and she offers to show her this unholy thing. Grandma wonders how young Miss met her baby. And at this time, the main character thought that she should first of all tell about herself. Giselle apologizes because she didn't introduce herself right away, and she says that her name is Giselle Robin and she works as an intern in a store owned by Renelle. Hearing this, the boss straightens her and says that she is not an intern, but a full-fledged employee. These words surprise the girl so much, and so Renelle explains to her, since she worked so hard that a couple of days ago, he decided to hire her. When Giselle heard this, she was surprised, and screaming said that she did not know this, and the gentleman says that now she knows. The girl asks if she had not mentioned this now. She would never have told her this, sir. Emily says her baby has brought an interesting young girl, and Renelle reports that she is interesting to watch. At this time, the main character thought that he hired her for fun and not because he needed a salesman. The young master says that, be that as it may, she is an employee of the store, and the girl quietly reports that she is a full-time employee. Renelle turns to her grandmother and says that she can see that something annoying has stuck to her neck, and he explains that he is looking for a scarf that would hide it. Emily came closer to the girl and said that now she would look and talk about what must have been very painful and asks the girl about it. The grandmother claims that it looks ominous because it is not easy to hide. She invites them not to be sad and wait a little. Emily takes the cloth and says she'll try it. She wrapped this fabric in manna and reports that it will take 1 week to finish. Hearing this, the young master was surprised because a week was longer than he expected. Grandmother explains that at least 3 layers of manna will barely hide the bruises on the neck, and this is the first time she has to try to layer them so many times. Renelle says he understands and says they will be back in a week. Emily says that since they are already here, let them help her thread the needle. The young master explains that he is in a hurry. However, the grandmother reports that she does not see well and turns to the young lady, asking her to take pity on the old lady. Giselle says it's a simple request, and she asks why the boss is so cold. The girl offers to help her grandmother. Hearing this, Renelle quietly says not to help her. Emily thanks the girl for agreeing to help her, and at this time, she pulls out a box full of needles and offers to begin. Seeing this, Giselle was surprised because she didn't think that her grandmother had so many needles. And at this time, the gentleman says that's why she should have refused and asks if she understood this. Renelle explains that Emily is the master of cursed dolls, and Isabel was one of her creations. The guy says that Grandma is a champion at threading, but likes to enjoy the suffering of others by pretending to be weak. The main character says that she understands and promises not to trust anyone in this city anymore. Giselle looked at herself in the mirror and saw the mark and asks if she is really tracking it. Randall says it's hard to believe, but it's true, and therefore, wherever she goes, she must take Gilbert or him with her. The main character approaches the boss and asks him to tell her the truth whether he was fired. The guy asks who might fire him, and the girl explains that he is the head. And is it true that he told him to leave, because the guy is always just chilling? Renelle asks how she knows whether he is chilling or not. The lady explains that now he is having fun, and so she cannot rest on her day off. Hearing this, the guy is surprised and asks why she can't. Suddenly, the young master realizes what is going on, and he takes a box of sweets and invites the girl to go to her room to eat. Giselle explains that this is not why she came, because it is simply difficult for her to rest while the boss is in the store. The main character smiled and claims that this is all for her alone. She turns to the boss and invites him to understand her correctly, since she did not go with him for sweets. After a while, Renelle thought that she had been gone for a long time, and he wondered if she was still eating, and maybe he should have stopped her. The gentleman approached the girl's door and saw that it was open, and asks if he can come in. Suddenly, he heard her screaming, and at this time he quickly enters the room. Randall saw that the girl was lying on the bed and screaming that the boss had stolen all her sweets. And at that time, he realized that she was talking in her sleep. The young master understands that there is no threat. The guy sat down on the bed next to the girl and thought about whether his parents felt this way. Giselle screams and speaks again, and she continues to cry. The guy doesn't understand what the problem is, since he did everything for her and even changed the cage. Hearing this, Renelle was surprised, and he looked at the room and thought that it was quite cramped here, and the area itself is noisy. The guy understands that the situation is not the best since Giselle does not have a servant. However, he understands that the lady is used to working with her hands. The young master says that the girl has incredible independence and knows how to adapt. Randall strokes her hair and sees that the roots of her hair are turning black. However, he does not understand what the reason is. The young master muses that this is a side effect of the forbidden spell, and he wonders if something else has changed in her body. The guy understands that he doesn't know what Giselle Roisbin looked like, and therefore he won't understand what has changed. Renelle looked at the girl and saw her neck and thought that this bastard had left a mark, and if he could remove it, he would do it right now. At this time, the main character woke up, and she was surprised and asked why the boss came here and why he was holding her by the neck. The girl wonders if this is a joke, and at this time she smiles. The guy thought that she had an ability thanks to which she did not die from poisons. However, he does not understand what the point of it is, if she bruises so easily. At this time, the girl reports that he scared her. Renelle looks at the lady and thinks that she looks so weak that she seems to fall from any touch. The guy asks if her name is Giselle. The girl claims that yes, and the guy says that he himself called her that. However, the main character does not understand how to understand this, and the guy explains that until now she was Giselle. But now she doesn't have to pretend to be Giselle Roisbin. The young master claims to celebrate the appearance of his new name. Then he will build for her the most majestic and luxurious cage in the world. Suddenly, the girl gets out of bed and asks her boss which cage will be safe, and she wonders if she will protect her master too. The lady, screaming, says that even though she seems stupid to him, she suggests not to perceive her as an animal. Giselle claims that he did not buy her as a chicken, but hired her to work. And between them, two equal people, there was even a contract which he signed. The guy heard this, looked at the girl, and smiled again. However, the main character claims that she is serious and tells him not to laugh. She asks what luxury cage he's talking about and claims that if he has money for it, he'd better hang up his salary. Renelle thought that his Giselle was quite funny and charming, and when he returns to the estate, he will need to prepare a lot for the cage. Having spoken about the cage, Renelle quickly left on business. Giselle sits in the room and enjoys solitude, and eats cookies and thinks that this should always be a day off. The girl thinks that studying the tastes of poisons is also interesting, because when you mix strawberry and banana, you get a strawberry banana taste. The lady realizes that she doesn't even know a fresh watermelon from an overripe one, and this is amazing to her. Giselle doesn't understand why she got such power. After all, this is a unique ability. The main character recalls that in the novel, Giselle Robin died from poison, and this probably means that the ability did not come to her from her. Suddenly, the girl saw a guy who greeted her and then asked for forgiveness. The lady looked at him and thought that he scared her, and she did not understand how the client entered here. Giselle states that the store is closed today, and at that time I thought that she probably hadn't locked the door. The guy heard this and said that he had a big problem. After all, he urgently needs one item. Giselle asks which one, and she looked at the guy who asked her very much. A stranger says he needs a damn wooden box, and the lady went to look for her. The man wonders if she can find it. The girl looks for the box on the shelf and says that it is in the back and invites him to wait a little. When the main character was looking for a box, an unfamiliar guy released a spider from a jar onto her. Suddenly, Giselle felt pain from the bite and thought that a mosquito had flown into the store. The girl saw a spider on the floor and screamed. Then she took the box and covered it. The guy asks if she is okay and touches her neck and says that a spider bit her there. Hearing this, the main character screams, and the guy asks for forgiveness for touching her. Suddenly, the girl saw that she was bleeding. The young man asks her if she has a cure for the spider bite. The lady replies that she is not sure about this, but she knows who to ask. The guy says if she is free, she can go with him to his store and he will give her medicine. Hearing this girl asks what kind of store he has. The unfamiliar man apologizes because he did not introduce himself, and he says that his name is Tons and he runs a small pharmacy near the Northwestern Square. The main character understands that this guy is a pharmacist. Suddenly, the lady saw that the box was cracked, and she says it was the last one and she's very sorry. The man says that since there is nothing to be done, then he will look at another store. He invites the girl to go with him to get medicine and claims that it is not far. Giselle thanks the guy for the suggestions and says that she needs to keep an eye on the store because it's not good to leave it empty. However, the guy claims what she said because the store is closed. Girl explained that this happened before and she doesn't understand what's good about rest, and he claims that it is better to earn extra money. The lady says she needs to clean up, so she tells the guy to leave. The young man says that he will come to her another time. Red Butterfly asks Giselle if she closed the door. The main character replies that she is sure that she was closed, and I thought that this guy walked in as if nothing had happened. The lady understands that Vindria came too, but others do not have such a right. The girl remembers that it's strange to her that the guy indicated the exact location of the bite, and she doesn't understand how he knows where exactly she was bitten, since this place is covered with hair. The girl touched her wound, and there was blood on her fingers. Having tasted this red liquid, Lady thought that it tasted like an orange. Suddenly, Giselle thought that this customer had set a poisonous spider on her. Vindria entered the store. Who wonders if he threw a poisonous spider at her? However, the girl claims that this is her guess. The woman asks if she saw the guy bring it, and the lady says she didn't see anything. The main character thought that the butterflies also didn't notice anything because they were sleeping in the corner of the store. Vindria asks the lady if the spider could have fallen from the ceiling. However, The girl explains that since moving, she has never seen insects here. And if the poisonous spider was here, then the butterflies would have met it earlier. The woman says Giselle is right, and that's really suspicious. Vindria asks the girl if he is a pharmacist, and she says that, probably, Sullian was talking about this imposter. The woman explains that Sullian said that he was fooling people by selling them painkillers as medicine. And people fall for it because the pain suddenly goes away. When the main character heard this, she thought that since he confused the painkiller with the medicine, then he could also confuse the poison with it. The lady thought that she could have come up with something extra, since they won't try to poison Wayne anytime soon, and therefore they are unlikely to be connected. Vindria asking the girl if Mr. Rennell said anything about Tina after that incident, and the lady replies that he didn't say anything. Hearing this, the woman says, does it mean that the gentleman was not very angry? Giselle wonders if she should worry about Tina, and Vindria explains that he ended up here because of her, and it would be bad if he was punished. Giselle asks the woman why she doesn't just want to take him on as her apprentice, Vindria answering, asking why she would teach curses to a mediocre boy. Because his magical vessel is not large, and therefore he is only capable of childish fun. The main character remembers what Rennell told her because magical power has the concept of an attribute that is determined from birth, and the same applies to the size of the vessels in which it is contained. Giselle thought that Rennell had said that the size of the vessel was chosen by nature, and she understands that 10 is unlucky, but he is so passionate. The girl asks if there is any way to improve the potential of the vessel. Vindria says that even if he knew something, no one would have dared to do this. However, the main character does not understand why, and he thinks that anyone would want to become stronger. The woman says that she will explain it to her. After all, everyone has a vessel whose size is initially determined. However, its ability to increase needs to be expanded, and if someone wants to deepen the inside of the vessel, then he just needs to work with magic of the opposite property. The main character says that since there is a way, then at this time Vindria invites her to think that for the magician, the vessel is their heart and source of strength. Since he will allow someone else's magic, and especially the opposite property, to influence him, similar to entrusting his life to someone else. Vindria reports that if something goes even slightly wrong, the vessel will crack, and the person will forever lose his strength or die altogether. And she asks why resort to something like this. The girl says that it is clear to her, and at that time she thought that Rennell did not just say that it was dangerous. After some time, the main character thought that surprisingly, it seemed to her that she was disappointed that Rennell had not yet contacted her. And the girl thought that maybe she was simply too alarmed by that buyer. The main character remembers the young master and thinks that she is a little worried about him, and she feels calmer when he is around. The lady realizes that she misses him. Suddenly, Giselle saw her boss, and as always, was surprised by his sudden appearance. The young master asks the girl what it is, and he wonders if something happened to her. Rennell looks at the girl and says that he does not understand why she is so depressed. However, the lady does not understand that she should answer, and at this time the butterfly announces that she will tell him something. When the main character heard this, she thought that she wanted to tell everything herself when she plucked up the courage. Randall asks the lady that some crazy person tried to set a poisonous spider on her. The girl says yes, but, however, assumes that this is just a guess. The guy asks if she suspects him, and he says that she knows better, since she was present at the same time. Whether it's a feeling or an assumption, if it seems to her, it means it's so. Hearing this, the main character was surprised, because she did not expect that Rennell would immediately believe her. The young master says that he will ask someone to find out everything, and therefore asks the girl not to lose heart. Rennell asks Giselle what's wrong with the bite. The girl shows that the spider bit her in the neck and says that it is no longer bleeding or swelling. Young master, do you want to look at this, and asks the girl for permission. The guy invites the lady to admit that collecting useless marks on her neck is her hobby. However, the lady asks what he is talking about and explains that she would prefer nothing on his neck. Giselle asks if they have any first aid medicine in the store. She says that she thinks it is necessary to at least disinfect or apply ointment. The girl turns to the boss and says that he should provide the employees with a first aid kit, and she asks him if he sees how she got hurt while serving a client. The lady claims that it is his responsibility. Randall hearing this, I thought that I would have to buy something. He asks the girl if she wants him to be responsible. Giselle says he can just buy the ointment. Suddenly the guy touches the girl with his body, and the surprised lady asks what he is doing. The boss explains that his body temperature is lower, and from what he has heard, This may help reduce the pain. He asks the lady if she's not cold enough, since he might try something else. Hearing this, Giselle claims that there is no need and explains that the pain has long passed. After this, the girl leaves the room, and the gentleman asks where she is going. However, the girl suggests that the gentleman not talk to her. Giselle claims that she wants to be alone in the room and suggests that the guy not call her. Renelle comes to the door and reports that the lady said that she missed him. Hearing this, Giselle thought that he had heard everything. The girl does not understand what he is talking about and asks about it. She explains that she spoke about Suliana to Lady Vindria and about her friend. Hearing this, the gentleman asks if she has friends since they recently moved to this place. The girl replies that she has friends. The young master asks her if he should leave. Suddenly, a lady opens the door and asks where. Renelle reminds the girl that she said that she wanted to be alone. The main character claims that she wanted to be alone in her room. The guy puts his hand on her head and says that he understands her and invites her to rest, because she shouldn't worry about the store because he'll look after it. Hearing this, the lady screams and asks who else should worry. Giselle says that she's just in a bad mood because some big guy opened the forbidden door, entered the store, and threw a poisonous spider at her. And after that, he blushed and invited me to his pharmacy. The main character says that since he decided to stay, this really makes her feel better. And after these words, she turns around and leaves. Renelle thinks that the pharmacist Tons is so good at making medicine, he should look into him. The next morning, Giselle says with admiration that the young gentleman stayed in the store and even brought her breakfast, and by this she is touched. The girl asks if the boss has work for today. The guy replies that she has something in Barn Hall. The main character asks about what he was asked to do, and she says that it seems that he is not close to the head since he is walking around freely. Renelle explains that his job is to run the store, and since Wayne decided so, that is the head. He says that in addition to this, he performs various tasks and, for example, keeps records of workers called to the meeting. The lady heard this and smiled and said that they seemed to have a similar lifestyle. She thought about the fact that it turns out that there are those who are responsible for the prizes of employees from anywhere. The girl suggests that the gentleman refrain from going to big events like a great meeting. Because his main job is running the store, there is no reason for him to go to such dangerous places. Ranel Sprechevet, Chemopazna great meeting. The girl explains that all the sorcerers gather there like that, and the idea is interesting. How can he not be dangerous? The young master turns to the girl and says that among everything she knows about this chapter, he is interested in whether there is an incident of an assassination attempt during the great meeting. The main character thought that the guy grasps everything on the fly, and she claims that there is. Hearing this, Renelle says that is why he cannot miss it. The girl, screaming, claims that she said how dangerous it is there. The young master assumes that Dylan will be there, and he says that that's why he definitely has to go, and at a minimum, to avenge her neck. The main character looked at the guy and thought that he was one of those who ran into danger. Renelle invites Giselle to return to the store with Gilbert. He explains that he still needs to complete an assignment. The main character looked after him and thought that he was probably going to meet Dylan. She thinks that if the boss manages to hit him on the head with a stone, causing amnesia, then her life will become much more pleasant. The lady thanks Gilbert for seeing her off. However, the guy assures her that it is his duty. Suddenly, a doctor runs up to her and informs her, screaming, that Renelle is going to meet with that scoundrel. The young gentleman came to the pharmacy and said that he heard that the man in the white coat was flirting with his employee, and that's why he wanted to look at him. A pharmacy manager says he didn't know Giselle Rusbin worked in his store, and he explains that this surprised him a little. Renelle claims that she and Giselle do not know him, and he wonders why this complacency. Tons assures that if it weren't for him, the gentleman would not have met her. He asks if Giselle's golden magic worked. The pharmacist sells a bottle containing spiders, and one of them is crushed by Renelle. At this time, the young master was wondering whether he should finish him off now. However, looking at the pharmacist, I thought that he seemed to know something. Tones wonders why the lady doesn't remember him, because he told her exactly everything about the golden magic of star depravity. The pharmacist does not understand why the main character behaves this way, because she made a contract with a being from another dimension. He suggests that it seems the magic didn't work, and they probably misunderstood its meaning in the first place. Hearing this, Renelle thought that it seemed familiar to him. After all, the pharmacist first talks to him, and then becomes immersed in his thoughts and begins to mutter incoherently. At this time, they were being watched from the street by a girl, Vamesti as a doctor, and Gilbert. Suleiman says with delight that this is a success, because the young master will kick that charlatan's ass and people will start coming to him for treatment again. Giselle claims that this place has been popular these days, and maybe the boss himself came to look around here. He's a sane person. Hearing this, Gilbert objects and says that Mr. Rennell only goes to other stores for two reasons, and firstly, to buy something, and secondly, to destroy them. The girl screams and asks why they are so sure. The guy in the white coat says that if she doesn't believe it, he invites her to look. Suleiman says that he bets 1 gold piece that the master will kick his ass, and Gilbert supports him. He asks the girl if she is betting alone against it. However, the girl doesn't understand and asks why they put this up and calls them crazy. Entering the pharmacy, the main character thought that she was in a terrible state and asks if it's true that he will destroy her now. The lady wonders if this guy is a sorcerer who runs the main store. The girl asks the boss what he is doing. And at this time, they hear the women talking about how the gentleman blew up the Sosep's tool store because the neighbor boasted that he had long been the sworn brother of Mr. Wayne. Another woman asks if she wants to say that Mr. Wayne himself sent him to deal with his sworn brother. The woman says it's even more surprising that Mr. Wayne trusted this guy with the key. Giselle could not stand it and approached the women and asked if the boss kept Mr. Wayne's things and if this was true. And the woman replies that, according to rumors, he is visiting Mr. Wayne's estate. And she grabs the girl's hand and asks if she is Giselle Rosbin. The woman claims that she is her biggest fan and asks to be allowed to hold her hand. A woman with long black hair asks if the girl works at the main store, and she wonders how she got a position there. After all, she would also like to work closer to home. The woman again asks why the girl was hired and asks if they need more employees. Giselle doesn't understand what's going on and screams for her to let go of her hand and says that they don't hire people anymore. The main character thought that this woman wanted to find out information about hiring, and she assumes that she is up to something. Suddenly, a woman with black hair calls the girl a witch, and she screams that the lady is just a pathetic criminal who gained popularity because of her pretty face. Klats niet abo torknitsia tut, schob vestitext, and she asks if it's hard for her to hold hands. Giselle asks the woman if she has to do this because she is famous. The doctor looked at them and said that Giselle had gotten into trouble. They support the girl from afar and think that the battle has begun. The woman claims that Sweet Face helped the girl find a job, and she tells the girl not to even try to get close to Mr. Wayne. Giselle says that she is not offended by the fact that she is beautiful, and she claims that the woman is wrong because their store hires staff solely based on ability. The main character says that it seems that the woman is simply taking out her resentment for not being pretty enough, and she asks if it would be wiser to work on herself. The pharmacist reports that there is some kind of commotion on the street, and the one they were talking about came here herself. He invites the gentleman to ask her personally. After all, he is curious about whom Giselle summoned with her golden magic. Rennell sees the girl and calls Vedro. The secretary at that very moment appeared in the room and said that he would settle the commotion. However, the gentleman suggested that he hold this guy back. The woman turns to the main character and asks if she herself is that good. Giselle replies that she is better than the one who takes out her anger on others. The stranger claims that if it weren't for working in the store, she would be nothing. And at this time, she attacks the main character with a knife and says that she has no right to talk like that. Seeing the knife, the girl thought that she needed to run. But suddenly, a gentleman appears and takes the knife away from the woman. Rennell invites the stranger to tell her, no matter what, that he chose his employee thoughtlessly. At this time, the woman fearfully looks at the gentleman and says that she was mistaken because that is not what she meant. The stranger quickly runs away and screams that she is sorry. Rannell asks the girl why she is here. Giselle explains that they said he went after Monsieur Tonson, and that's why she came here. The young master asks if she came to stop him. However, the girl objects and asks why she should stop him. The main character reports that she is not so conscientious and kind. After all, she only wanted to make sure that he would not get hurt in the fight. The lady looked at the guy and thought that it sounded too stupid. The girl thought about it. It sounded too stupid. After all, Mr. Tons could turn out to be completely innocent. The girl looked out the window and saw Mr. Vedro in the pharmacy. The main character asks the gentleman if he came out because he finished running errands. Rannell explains that when he went to deal with the pharmacy, his only employee just happened to be nearby and interfered with something that was not her business, and so he became interested in what was going on here. So he came out. Hearing this, the main character asks if he came out to investigate. She screams Vajrajit I and says that those people were the first to start a fight with her. The young master says that he is flattered that his employee came to support him, but there is no need to do something that is not asked. And if she wants to take revenge on him, she can simply hit the pharmacist because he will support her. However, the girl objects and says that is not what she is here for. The main character calls two of her friends and invites them to come closer to them and explain everything to the master, because they were here from the very beginning and saw what was happening. Gilbert is silent, and the guy in the white coat asks if they saw it, and he says he was just asking the lady to work on her character. Hearing this, the lady screams and calls them traitors, since they themselves offered her to bet on him dealing with the pharmacist. Hearing this, Renelle asks if they teach the spender how to place bets. However, the girl says that she just bought some sweets, and he may be misunderstood. She explains that she is not a spender who loves sweets. The young gentleman invites the girl to return to the store and finish the deal there, and the lady agrees with him. After all, she understands that this is not the best place for a conversation. Arriving at the pharmacy, Vidro tied up Tons and asked if the gentleman was already here and whether he had left the others in the store. Renelle explains that he was a little late because he could barely get rid of them, and he asks his assistant what the result is. Vidro asks for forgiveness because something has changed, and that is why he has a gap in his memory. He explains that memories from 3 months ago were especially difficult to retrieve. The young master asks if he is much different from the one he used to be. The assistant reports that dark magic is clearly involved here, and he thought about the light one, but she is not capable of erasing memories that much. Ranel says that anything is possible. After all, in the pharmacy he did not feel magic, and this bastard looked defenseless. However, he doesn't know this. Is light magic capable of fooling a sorcerer? Because this is definitely the work of the magician Dylan or Vivian. Vidro does not understand and does not know whether this is a useful memory for Lee, but he seems very impressed with Giselle and is eager to stuff her, putting her on display. The secretary reports that it may be possible to get some kind of reaction from him if they use it. The young master tells Viter not to let this bastard get out of here, and if he appears before his eyes, then everything will end differently than this time. After this incident, rumors spread around the city that Mr. Tons had closed the pharmacy and disappeared from Barnhall. Giselle asks the gentleman if he was pursuing the pharmacist. The guy replies that it seems to him that he has suddenly lost the desire to run a pharmacy, and he wonders if Tones is to blame for closing his business. The main character claims that the gentleman broke his goods that day. Ranel reports that he should have been treated better as a client. After all, in this area, it's normal for business owners to have their things broken. Hearing this, the girl was surprised, because in their store, customers never spoiled anything. The boss explains that they will never do this because it is licensed by Wayne, and he doesn't know anyone who would be brave enough to make a fuss here. The lady wonders if the rest of the stores have licenses. Sir, he assures us that only they have it. And at this time, the girl thought about what was to be expected from a city of criminals. And she doesn't understand whether the boss is really so close to the head that he personally issued him a license. Giselle turns to the gentleman and says that she is curious to know something, because I accidentally heard gossip about him yesterday, because they say that he is in charge of the chapter's key and visits his estate. Ranel says that she sometimes goes there. Hearing this, the main character thought that now she understands why he is not at all worried about the consequences of his actions. After all, maybe he lives there too. The guy answers that he has his own housing, and he speaks, since we are talking about his house. Does she want to commute to work from there? However, Giselle thought that she had misunderstood him and asked him about it again. Ranel says whether she wanted to go to work from his estate, and he is interested in what she will say to him about this. Giselle asks the guy if he invited her to live in his house, and the guy says yes and asks what's wrong here. The girl explains that everything is not so, because when an adult girl and a guy live under the same roof, it can simply end in gossip and her bad reputation. The young gentleman says that in that bastard's pharmacy, he saw a poisonous spider, and it seems to him that it is the same spider that bit her. When the lady heard this, she was very surprised and a little worried, because she would not want to meet him again. Ranel says that he obviously planted it on purpose, and since something like this can happen again, isn't it better for her to play it safe and ask the lady about it? The young master says that while she's working, Gilbert or one of the guys might be nearby, but if a stranger sneaks in secretly at night, even Wayne wouldn't notice him. Giselle understands that it really seems better to move to live with him and tells the gentleman about this. The guy invites the girl to think about it again and explains that he needs to go away and prepare something. The red butterfly tells the lady that the gentleman's estate is delightful, and the blue butterfly says that it is magnificent, and it has the best magical garden. Giselle thought that butterflies were urging her to move there. Suddenly, the main character screams because she does not understand how this happened, because the protective magic was broken. She realizes that someone is trying to break into the store. The red butterfly suggests that the girl quickly hide. Giselle crawled under the bed and saw the legs of the woman who asked, "Est Leona here?" The woman looked at the butterflies and thought that the pollen was poisonous. The red butterfly screams that this is light magic. Hearing this, the main character thought that she needed to remain silent. Since the butterflies were attacked, Renelle will soon find out about it. Suddenly, the woman lifts the blanket and looks under the bed. She greets Giselle Ruspin. An unfamiliar woman takes the girl by the hands and pulls her out from under the bed. And at this time, the main character does not understand where she gets so much power. Giselle asks for forgiveness and says that they are now closed. And he says that since entering a store without permission is illegal. Hearing this, the stranger laughed and suggested that she simply consider her friend who came to play with her, because they met not so long ago. Having looked carefully at the lady, the main character thought that this was the girl who had recently gotten into a fight. The woman with black hair claims that she can still die and tells her not to be afraid. And she says that she spent too much magic at the entrance, because this damn bastard installed a powerful barrier for such a place. Giselle looks at the lady and asks who she is. Hearing this, the woman was surprised and said that the girl said that she remembered her. The main character claims that she remembers this girl, and not from the one who now controls her body. The black-haired woman was surprised when she heard this because she didn't know that Giselle was so smart, and she reports that the lady did not conduct that experiment the way she told her. The stranger claims that the changes in her personality are a side effect, and she doesn't understand who the girl called because she doesn't feel any magical energy. The woman, screaming, asks Giselle what happened, since she told her to look quite appetizing and told the article about his food. The stranger says that the girl is doing well because she has become close to Renelle and is dragging him along with her. However, this is not enough. Hearing this, Giselle does not understand what she is talking about and asks the woman about this. Did she tell the person to be food? At this time, the girl thought about what she had just heard, and maybe she had misunderstood. The stranger claims that someone stood behind Giselle Robin, and this man told her how to conduct an experiment. And more than that, the target of the experiment was Renelle. However, the woman does not understand and asks the girl about this, how she manages not to die, since this place is full of poisonous police. Giselle says that she would actually like to ask the same question. The stranger says that the power she received after the experiment is not so useless. Randall appears in the room and tells you to stop this. The girl runs up to the guy and asks why he was delayed, because the butterfly had long since died. However, she thanks him for coming to save her. The main character runs up to the guy and asks if he is the boss. Renelle looks at the lady and asks her if she is Giselle Robin. He argues that there is no need to pretend even for the sake of a joke. The lady claims that she is Giselle and is an employee of this store. The young master says that the girl did not intend to kill her and she was chatting to gain time, because from the very beginning, her goal was to talk to her. Randall says that this woman with black hair is the person who started the experiment with her. The girl looks at the guy and asks how he is. She explains that she just realized it too. The main character asks why the gentleman was delayed. After all, the butterflies have long since died. Suddenly, the lady says that he came earlier and was hiding, eavesdropping on their conversation. Renelle claims that she said she knew the future of several important people, and he offers to tell him in exchange if he saves her. Giselle asks her boss if he suspects her. She asks if he thinks that she and this man are in league and they were planning a trap for him together. The lady wonders if it seems that way to him. The main character says that she understands because he suspects her. However, she explains what is true. After all, it was not her. The lady claims that she doesn't remember anything about the Golden Magician and doesn't know what that girl was talking about. Renelle says that she was bait for him, and he says that it seems like that was the case. The young master claims that that person's plan did not work because he expected her to fully fulfill her and significant role. The girl claims that she does not know why Giselle Robin used gold magic. She thought that the novel said nothing. Neither Renelle nor the white magician who studied Giselle were important characters. The lady remembers exactly what she read about this world. After all, everything here will be as described in the novel. However, the main character does not understand why she became Giselle. The main character turns to her boss and tells him that he doesn't have to say anything, since she admits that his suspicion did not appear out of nowhere. Giselle explains that she really had nothing to do with it and still asks if he cares. Previously, ask a girl why she is crying, and she explains that it's not because she's sad, because she cries when she's frustrated and annoyed. The girl understands what is in the past and what is now, as she tries to adapt with all her might. But for some reason, he always faces difficulties. The main character explains to the guy that she is not crying because she wants to, and he asks her if she is afraid of him and if she thinks that he will finish her off. Hearing this, Giselle, claiming that if this is the case, offers him to do it painlessly and quickly. Renelle looks at the girl and wipes her tears and objects, saying that he will not finish her off. However, he asks if she wants to die. Hearing this, the main character objects and says that, of course, she doesn't want to. The young master reports that he has already furnished her cage and calls her a chicken. Hearing this, the lady asks if he seriously threw away, that is, spent money on it. The main character asks if he saved her life in order to find out who is behind her. Giselle asks the guy if he wants her to be bait, because this person will probably contact her again, and she announces that she agrees to cooperate with the boss. Randall heard this and thought that he understood who she took him for. The guy asks the girl where she got so many scratches from, and says that he doesn't know healing magic. The lady explains that to cure them, a simple ointment will suffice. The young master says that it is a shame because she did not try to finish off this girl, because she practically finished her off. He asks if she could hide in such a small room. Giselle explains that she appeared suddenly, and she didn't have time to think of anything. Randall says that she can't even imagine how scary it was when she started talking to the stranger. Giselle says that she knows about this and invites him to pretend that she, as an employee, was simply discussing her salary with her. The young gentleman says that he needs to check whether the stranger is dangerous and invites the girl to stand behind her. The lady thought that the young master clearly doubted her at first, but she did not understand why he changed his mind so quickly. Suddenly, the main character realized that he had changed his mind because he saw her tear-stained face, and she remembers that as soon as she burst into tears, the gentleman immediately softened. Giselle turns to her boss and asks if he likes her appearance. The girl reflects on the fact that she was saved thanks to her pretty face, and the feeling of shame will kill her faster than the boss. She invites the guy to pretend that he didn't hear anything. Renelle says he doesn't like it. However, he likes her actions. Hearing this, the lady is surprised and asks him if he is sure, given what he has seen. The young master explains that when she cries, she looks absolutely terrible, and the girl asks him to apologize for tormenting his eyes with this spectacle. The boss says that if she wants to cry, then let her do it only in front of him. And if she gets angry or upset, then let her not hide, but find him. However, he would not like to see her tear-stained face, but still, he will help fix everything. At this time, the main character does not understand why she was flushed, and she had some strange reaction. Giselle wonders what to do with this girl and if they should take her to the infirmary. Renelle claims that she fell into eternal sleep and was like this from the beginning. He explains that she had no chance to survive because she was caught under a protection spell placed at the entrance to the store. The main character wonders if she talked to the corpse, and the gentleman confirmed her words. The boss asks if the lady has thought about moving to his estate. Hearing this, the main character, screaming, says that she is ready to go there immediately. At this time, in the temporary first aid post, Vivian informs the man that now he will need to rest for a couple of days and he will get better. Hearing this, the man thanks the lady. The mentor asks the lady if she is busy with good deeds again. Barafin Grind is Vivian's former mentor in white magic. Vivian claims that they have not seen each other for a long time, and he asks if he came, not because something happened. The man replies that she should not worry, since you are safe in her hiding place. The mentor reports that he came because he was curious if she had recently contacted Renelle. Vivian says she doesn't know anything about him. Barafin reports that he managed to find out where this kitten is, and the small family that he planted finally sprouted. The girl with red hair does not understand which family the gentleman is talking about, and the mentor explains that because of the greed of the sorcerers, dark clouds overtook their world, and to return everything to its place, he planted a family among them. Vivian claims that Barafin still continues to do good deeds for the world, and she says that if only she could heal him, who was broken that day, and restore his magical power. The mentor looks at the sad girl and asks her not to talk like that, since the broken vessel should have finished him off, but he is alive thanks to her. Barafin reports that another of his students has probably lost his way, and Ranel definitely got involved with the sorcerers, and according to him, he became a close associate of Wayne Iori. Hearing this, Vivian was surprised and said that he had to be very capable for this. The mentor suggests that he probably found a way out, and most likely he had to resort to the evil nature of the sorcerers and inhuman methods. And while it's fun when a magical vessel is broken, it requires constant replenishment of magical power to survive. Barafin reports that if he was forced to take magical power from magicians, as he did with them that day, then Dylan would have already found such a serial killer, and the mentor doesn't understand how Ranel copes, and he thinks that maybe there is another way. Vivian asks Nastavnica if he wouldn't mind having a cup of tea with her, but still she invites him to drink tea and calm down. A girl with red hair pours tea and asks for the seed that he planted among the sorcerers, which is implied. Barafin reveals that this is Giselle Roybin, and he says that as soon as they find her, they will immediately go to Ranel. At this time, Giselle turns to her boss and invites him to be honest with her. She looked at the large, beautiful house and, screaming, asked if it was temporary and if it was her own. The main character suggests that this could actually be Wayne Manor. Ranel Subshed Otomchta Wayne gave this house to him, and he owns it anyway. The guy asks the girl if she is done doubting, and therefore invites her to go inside, and he reports that he will show her everything there. Entering the house, Giselle was very surprised by its luxury and how much space there was in it. The girl asks the boss if there is anyone else here, and he explains that to manage such a huge estate would require many servants. But, however, they still have not met anyone. Ranel asks if he told her that he doesn't trust people. He explains that this estate is the safest place, and he would not allow anyone to live here. The main character was surprised and asks how to understand this since she is here. The young master replies that she is the first to enter here and will remain here to live. Giselle looks at him in surprise and asks if he plans to make her a housewife. The girl asks if this is extra work, and he claims that the contract will need to be renegotiated. Hearing this, Ranel was surprised, and the girl understood, and because she looked at him and smiled and said that she was joking. Giselle tells him if he wants to be nearby so he can react if enemies come and asks if she's telling the truth. She tells the guy not to worry because she won't betray his trust. Hearing this, the young master thought that he did not understand where he had taken a wrong turn. Ranel asks the girl if she likes flowers, and he says that there is a large garden near the estate and asks if she wants to look at it. Giselle replies that she likes flowers, and at this time, she hopes that he did not notice her embarrassment. And she doesn't understand why Ranel has been talking so confusingly the last few days. Suddenly, the main character realized that here was the same magical garden that the butterflies were talking about. The lady asks the master if everything in the estate is created by magic. He replies that yes, and she thought that now she understands why he does not need servants. Giselle asks the guy if it's hard for him to use so much magic. Ranel replies that it's not very good, and if possible, you can get it from outside. The lady thinks about what it means from the outside thanks to the magical flowers. The young gentleman looks at the girl and asks what kind of vase she has. Giselle explains that this vase was sitting idle, and she decided to decorate it with wild flowers. The lady asks if it turned out beautifully, I predligate, and invites the guy to put it anywhere at home. The young gentleman takes the vase from the girl's hands and agrees with her. She wonders if he has an idea where he will put this vase. Ranel says it's in the bedroom, and he invites the girl to follow him. Hearing this, the main character was surprised and asks if they are going to his bedroom because she does not bring up why there. The young master asks what he said. However, the main character states that people usually sleep in the bedroom, but the bed can be used for different purposes. Ranel looks at the main character and asks why she was blushing. Hearing this, Giselle screams and asks what's wrong with her face and covers it with her palms. The young master invites the lady not to worry, but to simply follow him. And he explains that he has something for her, and for now she can support the vase. Entering the large room, the girl asks if this is his bedroom, and thought that there is no table or chairs, but only one bed. After all, there are no paintings, no decorations, and the room is deserted and looks lonely. The girl claims that the hallway is very beautifully furnished and asks why there is nothing here except the bed. Ranel explains that he destroyed everything else, and the main character wonders if the boss is too hot-tempered. The young master explains that it was a long time ago, and if this happens again, she won't even know about it. Ranel pulled out a scarf from the box and offers to take it to the girl, and explains that Emily finished it. Having heard this main thing, the heroine was delightedly surprised, and thanks the guy. The young master explains that she must wear this scarf when she goes out, and he may not wear it on the estate. Hearing this, the main character wonders why. Ranel explains that here, where magical energy is confused, no one will find it. When the main character heard this, she thought that she didn't really understand what this meant. And it suggests that, probably, only those who are invited can wander into such a secluded place. And she doesn't understand why Ranel needed to hide here. Entering the kitchen, Giselle was surprised because she saw a lot of products. She asks the gentleman if he does the cooking himself. The guy explains that he doesn't like to cook and says that he bought these products yesterday, and before that the place was empty. Giselle is surprised and asks us how he used to eat. The guy explains that when necessary. Hearing this, the main character screams and explains that eating is a very important and sacred process because people need the power of cooked rice. Ranel explains that mages' bodies are more dependent on magical energy, and therefore food is not that important. Hearing this, the main character screams and says that she rejects his excuse. The girl explains that she is a weak cook, but she will try to cook something so that they can eat together. Ranel thought that she was conscientious because she was again doing something that he did not ask her to do. I kogda on det I at guli, tuona obichno ne odicate. Suddenly, the young master created a robot using magic. And the girl looked at him and asked if he was a golem. Ranel explains that she said it correctly and argues that the boss does not have to be human. The guy explains that cleaning and washing, serving food, gardening, and a little bit of everything else can be done by this robot. Hearing this, the main character was surprised if it was possible to use energy like this and asked if he would suddenly feel bad again. The guy replies that everything is fine and thought that he has a magical garden, without which he would have died a long time ago or turned into a ruin. Giselle says he feels good here and asks what about other places. And without hearing an answer, the girl thought that he continued to answer to himself, and she was already used to it. Suddenly, the young master says that he almost forgot to say that every working day, Gilbert will be waiting for her at the entrance, and she will go to work with him, and Ranel will pick her up from work. The main character thought that he would live with her and deal with their household obligations with magic and pick her up from work every day. And therefore, it seems to her that he is like a husband who supports his wife. Giselle looked at the guy and asked if he really meant that, and she explains that she didn't expect them to go this far with him. The lady says she doesn't really understand why he is so kind to her. The main character turns to her boss and asks if he knows that she is not Giselle Rospin. The guy replies that he knows everything, and the lady asks if he thinks she might be dangerous. Ranel objasniet što he had such thoughts, and he says whoever she is, he likes the one who is now standing in front of him. The young master says that the estate is like a fortress, which is not at all different from her will, defenselessly welcoming her. Ranel holds the girl by the shoulders and tells her that she is much more dangerous than she thinks. The young master says that since the lady has already seen the kitchen, she now needs to rest, since work awaits her tomorrow. And the girl agrees with him. The main character thought that when Ranel told her that she was dangerous, did that mean the same thing? The day after the incident with the spider, the main character thought that she was scared to open the store. And she was very lucky that the 3 sorcerers would take turns staying here. She thought about what the boss asked, and it must be annoying them. Butterflies warn Giselle not to try Sullian's medicine because her stomach will hurt. Lady answered that she knows this and they don't have to tell her this. The doctor looked at the girl in surprise and asked if she was talking to her familiars. The lady explains that the boss revealed their names to her as well. However, he assures that one name is not enough to communicate since she is not even a magician, and this is strange to him. Sullian reports that it seems she has a magic-friendly body, and that's why he drags her around with him. The doctor says that finding an organism friendly to dark magic is extremely difficult. On Sprashivet, he asks if he can have a drop of the girl's blood. Hearing this, the main character objects and the doctor says that he is sorry. Giselle asks the doctor if he will try to woo her on the sly, and the guy in the white coat replies that he won't do it. He explains that if he accidentally hurts her, her boss will kill him. Hearing this, the main character thought that this meant it was not her fantasy, and Sullian and Gilbert and Vindria seem to be afraid of angering Ranel. However, she does not understand why, if he is only a minor character in the novel. Giselle turns to the doctor and says that she is curious about something. She asks if, among all of them, their boss is not the most important one. Sullian waves his head and says she's right. The main character thought that their boss, whom she considered a minor character, was actually the strongest. Sullian says that Ranel is still his savior. He explains that if it weren't for the antidote he gave him, he would have died, and so the doctor decided to help him. Hearing this, the girl thought that in the novel who saved Sullian and received his loyalty was Wayne. The doctor says that he is closer to Mr. Ranel and even closer to Gilbert and Windria. The main character remembered that in the novel, the object of Sullian's adoration was Wayne Ayori. Giselle asks the doctor if he ever worried that their boss was Wayne's confidant. Hearing this, Sullian asks in surprise what of this. He explains that Mr. Ranel is an outstanding person with whom no one can compare because he is a natural sorcerer. The main character smiled and said what was clear to her, and she asked if he was better than Windria and Mr. Vedro. The doctor replies that they are no match for him. The girl wonders if he can be said to be better than Wayne Ayori. Suddenly, Sullian says that he has just remembered an important matter, and that's why he has to go. The red butterfly says that it does not understand anything, and the blue butterfly says that the doctor does not know how to lie. Hearing them, the lady smiled and said that she was not in the mood for jokes. Giselle calls out to the butterflies and asks them if they can tell her about the boss. She explains that she doesn't seem to know anything about him or the things he's done or experienced or something like that. The red butterfly suggests that the lady better clarify what exactly she wants to know, and the blue one asks why doesn't she ask him directly. Wang explains that they don't know much about human relationships since she is the first person the master allowed to stay in the estate, and he assumes that she is close to him. Having heard them, the main character agrees with them and says that she will need to ask him about this personally. She thanks the butterflies. Giselle thought that she thought Ranel would tell the truth if she asked him. Suddenly, a young gentleman appears in the store and says that he has come to pick her up, and he asks if the day went well. Ranel comes up to her and asks if she didn't originally have a double eyelid. When she heard this, the girl was surprised and thought that it had disappeared. The young gentleman asks the lady if she has finished arranging the goods. The girl replies that she did everything and invites him to let her look in the mirror. However, Ranel suggests that she should go home and asks if she would like to try the dinner prepared by the golem. The main character thought that he came to pick her up personally, but it seems that she didn't hear anything about it. However, the girl agrees with him. Vedro bursts into their store, and Ranel turns to him and says that he does not know what is happening, but to tell him to leave. Wayne bursts into the room and screams, "Sir!" The main character looked at him and thought that he had broken down the door, and she didn't understand who it was. However, she looked at his hair and the frightening expression on his face, and reflected on the fact that this was the description of Wayne Ayori. And she doesn't understand if this is really him. Wayne turns to the gentleman and screams that they have a problem. And at that time, he noticed the girl and asked if she was that crazy employee. The main character looked at him and thought that he must be in pain, because in any case, the man who may be Wayne calls Ranel master. And if you think about it, Ranel had easily used powerful magic before, and he was disdainful of the three villains. However, he appears to be on bad terms with Dylan. The main character thought about what not to look at, but her head was spinning. The girl says that she will wait for the gentleman in the room and invites them to talk without her. Suddenly, Ranel announces that she should not go anywhere, and the man with silver hair asks the gentleman if he will take this crazy woman with him. The guy answers yes. Wayne talks about how her craziness is contagious, and at this time, Vedro puts his hand on his shoulder and screaming, tells him to just open the gate of warp. Giselle, turning to the gentleman, says that she does not know where he is going, but invites him to leave her here, since he will not need her. However, the guy holds the girl's hand and says that he doesn't want to do this. Ranel asks the lady how she likes him. After all, she said that it was impossible to forget his silver hair and look once you saw him. Hearing this, the lady asks if he told him what she said. The young master asks why and says that he would rather hear her say it herself. The main character heard this, was surprised, and screaming, said that it was cruel. The guy asks if she thinks so, and he claims that she already knows that he didn't tell her. Giselle explains what everyone thinks is Wayne Ayori is in charge, but in fact the real leader is the boss. Ranel looks at the girl and says that's exactly how it is. Hearing this, the main character does not understand how she could not recognize the main villain when he was right in front of her, and still thought that dealing with him was a good choice. Odnako Ona. However, she doesn't understand why Wayne was the villain in the novel. Ayori, a handsome man with silver hair. Handsome. Ranel touches her forehead and says that, in other words, he cannot leave her alone with this knowledge. At this time, the girl realized that this seemed to be the case, since she had learned his secret. Giselle asks her boss that there isn't a confidentiality clause in every employment contract, and she claims that she will never tell anyone, no matter where she goes. And therefore, she asks to spare her. Renelle asks her what she can answer to this. Hearing this, the main character thought that she would like to show her loyalty in this way, and he laughs at her. The young master puts a scarf on her and says not to take it off yet, and then he gives her his cloak. He tells her to try not to get in the way, but to stand quietly nearby. Hearing this, the main character screams and asks where they are going. Ranel replies that he does not know, since he was not the one who opened the gate. Uslishav eto, glavnaya geronia podumala otam, kak mojno iti, neznaya kuda. The young master invites the girl to take his hand, but she does not want to do this, and he says that if she wants to get stuck in a space-time rift, she can go on her own. And after hearing the words, the main character, screaming, tells him to wait for her and think that he is definitely a villain. Giselle grabbed the young master's hand and thought that she was now connected with the important characters of the poisoned apple, and this was her life. Ranel invites the lady to hold on tightly to him, and at this time magic spins them. Suddenly, the main character found herself in an unfamiliar place, and she saw Ranel next to her and grabbed his hand and thought that everything would be fine. Walking along the street, Giselle looked around and saw that everyone here looked very busy, and she did not understand whether she was allowed to be here. The main character apologizes to the boss and asks where they are. But suddenly, a man turns to Mr. Wayne, and he asks what is happening here. Seeing this, the girl thought that for a second she believed that he was the real leader, since his acting skills were amazing. A stranger contacts Wayne and says that he needs to check something for them. A man with silver hair turns to Ranel and calls him Vedro and orders him to help him. Hearing this, the main character thought that he was speaking familiarly to the boss, and she doesn't understand whether the fake leader should do this to a real villain. The girl reflects on the fact that similar Ranels do not mind, and the structure of their world is difficult for her to understand. The lady looked at the busy men and thought that she should keep quiet. Giselle turns to her boss and asks him to wait. Hearing this, he asks where she is going. The lady explains that she thought she could help him with something. Ranel, looking at the girl who is holding the boxes in her hands, asks what she is doing. Giselle explains that while the sorcerers were holding the meeting, an enemy attacked them, and now they are in a hurry to get rid of the materials in order to abandon this place and disappear. And she asks, "Isn't it?" The young master replies that he does not know, and the main character thought that she seemed to have guessed right. The girl explains to the guy that since no one here knows him, she should at least pretend to be helping in order to avoid suspicion. Ranel looks at the girl and asks why she is not surprised. However, the lady does not understand what he wants from her, and the guy once again asks why she is not surprised by what is happening. The main character explains that she has long ceased to be surprised by anything, and in any case, in such a situation, you shouldn't stay on the sidelines and you need to do something. Vedro, turning, screaming, calls for the two of them to quickly come to Mr. Wayne's office. Hearing this, the young lady invites the boss to go along. Entering Giselle's house, she saw many doors, and she does not understand which one leads to the office. But suddenly, the gentleman stopped, and the lady did not understand why. The main character saw a wall in front of her, and the boss opened it with magic. Ranel invites the girl to stay close, and she agrees with him. After all, the winner understands that this place cannot be ordinary, and here is the villain's office. Entering the room, they saw books and papers scattered around, and the main character asks the boss if they will burn these papers. Ranel objects and says no, because magic will destroy everything together. He looks at the girl and asks if she understands why he brought her here. Giselle explains that he brought her here to show her how dangerous he is and that she should be more careful around him. And at that time, the girl thought that she had said the wrong thing. And he asks what kind of threat is this, so that she does not interfere and follows his words, and in order to intimidate her a little and maybe threaten to take her life. The young master claims that she is right about something. Hearing this, the girl thought that he should not tell her about the latter. Ranel says that his goal is to make her understand what kind of person he is. After all, she previously told him not to go to the meeting, and he asks what will happen at it in the future, which she knows. Having heard this, the main character does not understand why he suddenly asks her about this, and she remembers that if this is not a meeting of the second part of the novel, where the main characters, the main heroine, and the main villain met, then a massacre will take place there. Giselle says Dylan might fall victim to Wayne's powerful magic. Ayori will lose track of him, and the gentleman asks if she is telling the truth, and then invites her to sit down and relax and enjoy the show. However, the main character does not understand what she should be looking at, and Renelle answers that it's on him. Suddenly, the main character saw how the young master, with the help of powerful magic, transformed into a man with silver hair. He looked at the girl and asked what she would say, since he had heard that silver hair was very beautiful and shiny. Ranel asks if this is true. Giselle does not understand the reason why he brought her here, and she thought that such a stunning spectacle could destroy an entire country. After all, the dark-haired guy she saw before was already handsome, but with silver hair, he is completely different, and it's impossible to be more perfect than now. And the main character thought that Vivian had poor eyesight. After all, she doesn't understand how she could choose Dylan over such a handsome man. Renelle came closer to the girl and asked what she would say to this. Giselle replies that, of course, this is very cool, and screaming, says that he looks very insidious. The girl explains that it is blatantly beautiful, and it suits him, and it's impressive. She says he looks great, and it's like a gift from God. The young master wonders if she has a talent for sarcasm. The lady, screaming, objects that this is not sarcasm, but she is completely sincere and asks if he doesn't believe her. The girl turns to her boss and says that his silver hair is perfect. However, Renelle invites her to forget I Govorit, show that their work is over, and invites her to return. The girl asks if they are going home and thought that he came all this way just to show her this and get rid of the documents, and she thinks that it could be something else. Going outside, Giselle heard that people were saying that Mr. Wayne had installed a barrier, and therefore they should quickly clear everything and leave. An unfamiliar man says that every time he sees him, he is surprised because he does not understand how the gentleman managed to fence off an entire castle alone. Hearing this, the main character thought that they were talking about the barrier that stood here before, and she assumed that Renelle had installed it. And does this mean that in that short moment he installed it? The man, screaming, announces that Mr. Wayne has installed a new barrier, and therefore they should not rush or push, and not even think about jumping the line. The girl looked at the people and thought that they were all surprisingly organized, and among them she saw Vedro and suddenly felt some kind of power, and decided not to tell anyone about it. Vedro walks up to Giselle and quietly tells her to be careful. Dylan, screaming that he had just a little more time, would have completely broken the barrier. And I thought that during this period a new one was created, and this was definitely the work of Wayne. He understands that otherwise there is no way for them to put up such a strong barrier in a short time. Dylan realizes that it is so strong that even 10 magicians cannot break it. And it is not surprising that the sorcerers pursue vain goals while he is with them, like Renelle. He thought that these vile sorcerers needed to be destroyed this time. Suddenly, the servant tells Dylan that there is a message for him. And at this time, the gentleman thought that it must be from Vivian, and that he would not be able to get rid of them as quickly as he wanted. The blonde guy reads the letter, which says that Vivian apologizes for the sudden letter, as she is worried that he is away longer than he promised, and she hopes that he will return safe and sound. Vivian writes that there is something else he should know about. After all, the mentor told her that Renelle was with Giselle Roisbin. Suddenly, Dylan stopped reading the letter and thought that he should have expected this too. After all, the magical power that time was not an illusion, and at first glance he realized that it was familiar to him. But only later did he realize that it was Renelle. Dylan reflects on the fact that this traitor, who used the magical power of Vivian and his mentor and ultimately lost everything, could be planning something, and they can no longer calmly watch as sorcerers steal magical power from others. The blonde boy thought that this was probably why the mentor decided to remove chaos from this world, despite his deteriorating health. Dylan realizes that he must help him, and he says to get ready to activate the tracking spell. Hearing this, the knight apologizes and asks whose stigma he wants to trace. The gentleman answers that Giselle. And at that time, I thought that the order of the world and their past is Giselle Roisbin. Giselle, walking along with Renelle, thought that she suddenly got goosebumps. After all, she worked so hard today that her body became weak. The girl asks the gentleman where they are going, since all the time she sees only gate after gate.